Hello, welcome to Needing a Meeting. My name is Carol. I'll be your host today, and I'm a little. I don't look it, but I'm a little wound up today. I was remembering some of the stuff that was done in the cult. Um, anyway, I really don't want to just tell that to the screen. I know that you guys are here in the chat. Hi, Mischief. Yes, you are. Thank you for being here. Yeah, all day I've been a little stirred up about, some things that the cult put some people through. And let me see if anybody wants to come into the room and talk any. I would like to have some other faces up here before I get into it. So in the meantime, I will read from How DBT Works from the DBT Explained. And now that you've learned a bit about what DBT is, let's have a look at how it works. People who use DBT skills learn to steer clear of black and white, right or wrong, good or bad thinking, seek out the truth in opposing viewpoints, accept that change is constant, and acknowledge that everything in life is interconnected. You've gotten a glimpse of that main dialectic of acceptance and change, which dialectic is part of the name of the therapy, dialectic behavioral therapy. Acceptance and change, and you've had a very brief introduction into the DBT skills modules. Well, that must be a separate thing. Including mindfulness, distress tolerance, emotion regulation, and interpersonal effectiveness. Now you'll learn how the treatment is designed. You'll see how it is intended to be delivered, and you'll see how it can change minds and responses and save lives. DBT Fast Facts, How to Respond to Problems. In 2015, Dr. Marsha Linehan said, "You only have a few options when life presents you with problems. Solve the problem, help yourself feel better about the problem, learn to tolerate the problem, stay miserable, or make things worse. Solve the problem. Simply stated, fix it. Change the situation. Leave the situation. Get out of the situation. Burn it down. Make it go away." Later on in the emotion regulation and interpersonal effectiveness modules, you will learn DBT skills that you can tap into specifically for problem solving. Help yourself feel better about the problem. Feel less bothered by changing or regulating your emotional response. You'll learn more about this in the emotion regulation chapter. Hi, Annie. Hi, Henny. Figure out how to tolerate the problems by embracing acceptance. This will be something you'll get more information about in Chapter 4. When you learn about mindfulness, and in Chapter 5 when we cover the distress tolerance module. The other option, stay miserable. We will skip this option in this book. This involves using no skills. We are all about being skillful. Unless you have a skill for drinking or, special skill for using any behavior or substance that carries us out of the situation. That's about the only method available for staying miserable besides just staying miserable. Make things worse. Technically, this is an option too, but we aren't going to waste any time on this one either. The 4 modes of therapy. A lot of therapists integrate a little DBT into their practice, and some do DBT informed treatment, incorporating some of the DBT principles and strategy. While DBT informed treatment can be very helpful for some clients, it is important to recognize that research shows that comprehensive or full model DBT is the most effective strategy, especially for clients who suffer with the most severe symptoms. Providing comprehensive DBT that is faithful to the model requires providing 4 different components of DBT. These include individual therapy, group skills training, between session skills coaching, and therapist consultation team meetings. This is DBT, as it's either Linehan or Linehan, and her team have developed, researched, and refined it. When you are looking for comprehensive DBT for yourself, a loved one, or a client, you will want to find out whether the therapist or program has the ability to provide all of these components. Would anybody care to come into the meeting? Yeah, it is DBT that I'm reading. The book is DBT Explained. Okay, that'll be great, Plant Free. I'll post the link. Dialectic behavioral therapy. Yep. It's supposed to be like cognitive behavioral therapy, except that instead of like completely just seeking to change the behavior, like you're wrong for having this behavior or thinking this way, it kind of incorporates a little bit more acceptance of where you are, how you're responding to it, and responding in a way that incorporates acceptance. And also just kind of incorporating the Eastern thoughts of mindfulness. Hi, Rebecca.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm a little tired. I just woke up from my nap. I set an alarm so I wouldn't oversleep today.
Right on. Well, good. Thank you for being here. I wanted to wait until some people started showing up, but I have been like kind of burning on the inside from some of the stuff that the cult did to people. Specifically, there was this one situation. There was always some major project for the Lord, for the kingdom of God, you know.
Yep.
And you don't mind me talking about this, do you?
Not at all.
Okay.
Not at all. And hello to everyone in chat too.
And this one particular one was a historic, like multi-acreage property, which is unheard of in San Diego area anywhere. But it was this very famous family of San Diego, and it was just this gorgeous Spanish. I mean, just the most dreamy, gorgeous property, you know. And we actually had a meeting out there to go and look at the property, the whole church. And of course, as I'm looking around, I'm looking at all the places where the kids can swing off of things because, you know, kids were not very well controlled at certain stages of their development because everybody's so busy worshiping and whatever else, working and doing all this stuff. So the kids were a little bit free range, which is cute until they break something, you know.
Right. Yep. Or get in trouble or hurt themselves.
You know, huh?
I said until they hurt themselves as well.
That
break
too.
Something or hurt themselves, and yeah.
And so this was the biggest thing ever, you know, and I'm sure it was multi-millions of dollars for this property. And I don't know how he thought that this ragtag group of 40 people at the most were going to be able to just come up with multi-millions of dollars worth of, you know, I guess he was just trying to come up with a down payment and he was going to worry about the rest of it from there. I don't know. But by this time, you know, young families are getting established, buying houses. A lot of them took out second mortgages on their home and put it in the offering bucket. And guess what? They did not get the property. Did they try to go ahead and get the money back to people who had put up a note against their home. No. Some families ended up homeless.
Oh.
There was a couple with 8 kids, and I didn't find it out until after the fact that they were living in a tent in a park. They would pull in just as the sun was setting, get their camp together, and just before the sun could rise, they'd have to get up and unpack it and find something to do with themselves for the day.
Oh no. Did they find some other place to go to instead?
I think eventually, you know, and conveniently, right along that time, the quote unquote next in command, which was the sister of the pastor, started getting on this thing of, we've got to ditch human compassion with the premise being that, and more inferred than actually said, that we're supposed to plug into the Lord for the Lord's kind of compassion, however that looked, because she had no compassion, none.
Yeah.
She looked at me after I'd been a year or two unemployed, and I was trying to go to school.
Yeah.
And I had a friend who was letting me live with her.
Yep.
Though she really couldn't afford to do that either. She needed someone paying rent.
Yep.
But she did let me do that for a time until I could, get a job going. And I was living on Luna bars and just hoping for enough money between church services to have the gas to get to and from. It's still my wedding anniversary for a few more hours. 30 years, 34 years of a journey, almost 25 years of them sober. A dozen red roses for me and a bottle of Johnny Walker for him. Oh my.
Congratulations. That's a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, in a cult, the whole thing is they don't care about you. It's about the group. It's about the leader. You're not doing enough. Whatever you're doing is not enough, and that you need to be doing more and more and more and giving more. And you could be living in poverty, and they could be living in the lap of luxury, and it doesn't matter.
That's right. Every one of their kids had, 50, 60, $70,000 vehicles.
Jesus.
And just little by little, you'd see luxury items, But this woman looked at me in the bathroom with the most judgmental, condemning look and said, some people are, I know she did it from the pulpit. She said something in the bathroom, but then from the pulpit, she said something, well, some people should eat. And she flashes me this look. Like I'm choosing to lose all this weight, but I'm barely making it. And granted, these are my own decisions that I'm making, but I want to have a better life for myself. When I lost my job, I wanted to leave California and go to school in Oklahoma at ORU, Oral Roberts University. And, he helped me decide that was not a good idea. He was just very good at making things seem like it's your own idea, that what he doesn't want you to do is what you really don't want to do.
Yep.
And so I still wanted to go to school because I climbed about as much as it was possible to climb in a job when I lost that job. But when I took that promotion, I knew it was a department that was always the hardest hit when there was a cutback. But I gambled.
Yeah.
And but yeah, I mean, and that just cut me. Because I was doing the best I knew how. I was tutoring and making a little bit of money, but I'd run into some situations where they promise you a lot. Like this person was like wanting me to list stuff on eBay for them, package it, ship it, and I would get this itty bitty commission. Yeah. And that was I ended up losing money, not making money there.
Yeah.
In the meantime, almost every single family in that church had lost their home to foreclosure because of all that mess.
Wow.
They suffered no loss of home, no loss of anything.
Right.
Kids stayed in their 4-year universities.
Yep.
And drove their $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 cars to get there.
Yep.
A college-age kid driving that level of vehicle on the backs, nobody is allowed to think about how they're prospering, and it's just the Lord. But yet all these other people have lost their homes with this convenient, your rewards are in heaven bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
It's always something dangling in front of your face.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And there's always lots to do to keep you so busy you can't think about it at the time.
Yeah.
You have the time or the energy or whatever.
It's an isolation method.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. It's an isolation method. Like, I was doing that partially to myself. Like, I'm a never in a cult person, but my ex was in a cult when he was younger. And I see that, like, every time I hear you guys talking, it's like those things were happening to me.
Yeah.
So it is terrifying how people are able to do this. And then on such a large scale at that, when you pull religion into it, like, cults where the both of you came from, right? It's terrifying. And the isolation, like we were just saying, it's constant. You're not able to think. And they're hoping you'll never be able to think. So you can't get out of it. You can't question why their children are driving $60,000, $70,000 vehicles to college.
Yeah.
Right?
It's what you've done. It's you, at least for me, it's what you're not doing enough. If you were doing enough, you would have more food or you would have more whatever. And of course, then they make examples of people from the pulpit. So
like, yeah.
make an example of you.
Oh my God.
And potentially maybe other people in the group know who the person's about, and then they think maybe a little less of that person. Their faith isn't strong enough. They're not good enough. Yes.
That's insane.
Yeah.
I'm sorry that happened to you, Carol, first of all. I can't even imagine.
I'm sorry for the people that, were starting their lives and building their families and putting a roof over their families' heads.
Yes.
Yeah. Trying to survive.
I mean, yeah, that was hurtful, but that's not anything as devastating as losing your home.
Yeah.
Now that I had my husband and ex-husband and I bought a home together, but I was only there a year. Now that I've had a few years of having a home, I was thinking about that today. I would be devastated. And, and that person would love to get their hands on this property, on the money value that this property is.
Of course.
Yep.
Of course. Jeez.
I thought about that a few times.
Yep.
That's good. Yeah.
They want you to sacrifice. Lots.
For the greater good, which isn't really the greater good.
Right. For the salvation of God or some, I remember hearing things like, we're never going to ask for money. If we ever ask for money, you'll know that we're not, because it was never like a plate passed the way some churches do. There was a box in the back. And then they've done things about, we'll take your stocks and bonds and gold, and like, that's money.
That's funny. That's right.
It's money.
That's not just small potatoes either. You know,
Yep.
that's somebody's nest egg.
Yep.
Exactly.
And don't worry about saving for your future or saving for retirement or
Your future's
Your future's here.
money now. Yep.
My goodness.
Yeah.
I think about that even, I mean, I live in an apartment and I still feel grateful for this, that I have a roof over my head and I have the basics. And yeah, someday I'd like to have my own space. I just don't want to do yard work. So, I just know that, mowing the lawn is not what I want to do for my life.
A condominium might be the perfect thing, except for the
Right.
close neighbors.
Or a townhome, but I don't necessarily. The hard part is I either need to end up with a really close friend that I go into together, or a partner that wants to do that kind of thing, because
Yeah.
I like doing sewing and cooking and all those kind of things,
Yeah.
and they can go do, because I don't want to spend my energy maintaining yard work, but I could. I mean, we grew up doing a huge garden and all those things, but I don't really want to.
This is a really good point. When you're feeling burned and can't get justice, believe in karma. These people will be reincarnated as slugs. Someone was asking about Steve, and I heard from Steve a day or two ago, and I've missed him too. He said something about a new computer and having trouble with it. So I don't know what's going on there. But the last time I talked to him, he was in that situation, and but he seemed good. He had been watching, and so anyway. And Rolling Stone says, "Did you ever see Dogma?" I did not. What? Where would that word? What is it on a streaming service?
And just before we get going here again, hi everybody. I did see everybody say hi. I was just trying to wash hands and wash dishes, but hi.
Mischief
It was a
said,
bit of a crazy afternoon.
well, you made it.
Yes. Yes. I was like, okay, we're running 25 minutes late. Let's go.
I set the alarm. I've got Google Home, and
Yeah.
I'm very thankful for my Google Home. I've got the hub fairly close to me, and so I like being able to say set an alarm, because then if I'm laying down, I don't have to get up to do anything or find my phone or try to figure out how to do it. It just does it.
Yes.
So I set an alarm. And the kitty and we're snoozing here, and snoozing. I did not accomplish much today, other than
I did way more.
Accomplishment. I
was really hoping for a relaxed day, and then I go to the doctor's office because my note's ready, and I was told it was going to be emailed to me. Then they're like, no, there's a fee, and we need to print it out here. And I'm like, oh, okay. How much is the fee? $65 for one piece of paper. But then the doctor had also sent a prescription for muscle relaxant for me, because like everything on this side is so tight. She thinks that that's affecting my shoulder very badly. So she wants me to relax my muscles a bit. And she said, go for a massage. I'm like, good, because I got gifted one. I don't need to worry about spending for that.
Excellent.
But then I got back. I've got to send the letter off everywhere. And I'm like, and now I'm going to take time for me. And then I did that, called Addison, got caught up in a conversation with somebody else. And I'm like, I'm so behind now. I'm so behind. But the Dogma movie is a Kevin Smith movie. Have you? Do you guys know who Kevin Smith is?
I don't know that I do.
He works with.
So.
Yeah, so he does a lot of comedies. Oh my God, what's the one where they're smoking out front of the convenience store? I can't think of that one right now, but Actually, Rolling Stone put something here. So it's a comedy about religion. Matt Damon, Ben Affleck, Chris Rock, and George Carlin's last film.
Okay.
It is a great movie. And again, it is a dark comedy, but it does touch some aspects in which we're talking about, but in a light fashion to kind of work through it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mischief says, I nearly got roped into the Jehovah's Witnesses at a very low point in my life. Oh, yeah. If they knock on enough doors, they're bound to get somebody at that point.
Yep.
Maybe
one out of 100,000, but yeah.
Yeah.
Cults get you when you're at your lowest and when you need
always.
something.
Yeah.
Yep.
Always.
Fortunately, I woke up just in time to higher education. My degree saved me. I was about to be baptized.
That was right on the edge.
Yeah, that it's pretty serious once you are at that level, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah. Mischief, I don't know why that just made me
I'm
laugh.
so glad you're safe and you're okay and you're out of that.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm wondering if some of the people that I cared about have started to question.
Potentially.
To allow themselves.
That's the first step. Yeah.
Well, and did they kind of cut you off when you moved? Or did you kind of just draw away?
A lot of people did right away. You know, especially when I started speaking out.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And but not everyone did.
Right.
Okay.
You know, the sincere people that I was sincerely, you know, loved by, cared about, you know, and you can love somebody in a cult, but you can't really have honest,
right,
open dialogue. You have to keep it within the confines of the language of the cult.
Yep.
Yeah. I can't imagine a whole group of people trying to do that, trying to speak out to one another. You know, it's hard enough one person. I can't imagine thousands. You know, even hundreds, thousands, hundreds of thousands. It depends on what cult you're talking about as well, right? But I can't imagine how terrifying it would be to speak up. And when you finally found your voice, be threatened with disconnection. When connection is what you need most.
Yep.
Well, and the disconnection happens.
It's a way to force people, though, to conform and to not speak up.
Yeah.
So there's I've heard the term PMO, physically in, mentally out.
Okay. Yep.
So for people who are in groups like that, where they can't say anything, and I don't know how they do it. I don't know how you continue to act and go through the motions when you don't believe any of it.
Yeah.
I don't know. But then again, it's your family. It's every friend that you thought you had.
It's literally your whole world at that point.
Yes.
It is literally your whole world.
Yep.
That is.
And that's by design.
Yes. That just makes it even scarier to me.
Yeah.
Because it's not just one person being affected, it's many people being affected. And it's not like they are in a intimate relationship with the person affecting them. They're in a religious relationship. This is a freedom that people have. This is a right that people have. And it's a legal freedom and a legal right. And they are manipulating that. Yes. And somehow still, I know Scientology, for example, and I'm sure that there's more, are getting tax exemptions.
Mm-hmm.
It's gross.
And then saying that they're doing things for society, to get tax-free status, I think you have to be like a public benefit of some sort. And some churches do
that though.
Huh?
Because they don't enforce that though, because there's no way our church was a public benefit.
Or how I was.
How did they what actual government is not government in general, but what part of the government is enforcing that? You know, nobody is.
Nobody.
Nobody is.
Nobody
Well,
is.
and if you question, because other groups like the Catholic or potentially Lutheran or whatever, I've heard about the Catholic Church, like a group going in and like I don't remember if I heard it because I watched the SPTV and Scientology, but
Yeah.
them potentially going in about the tax-free status and then having other religious stands up for them because those other religions are afraid they'll lose their tax-free status too.
Yes.
But
And Catholicism specifically has enough against it going already, especially Roman Catholic. Like Catholicism, like there's different sections, and I grew up Roman Catholic, and this is where most of the problems are.
okay.
Okay, and that is who Scientology is using to help them is the Roman Catholics, which is so scary and gross. So scary and gross.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, chill. Just thinking about it, I'm getting a chill.
It's okay.
Oh.
No, and they'll use things like we're helping community, but they're helping maybe their own people.
Yeah.
And they're not helping somebody else. Or like I remember Katrina, they were going to build houses for Katrina, the people survivors of Katrina. It was people in their own group.
Mm-hmm.
They were doing that for. They weren't doing it for everyone. They were doing it for a small group of people.
And for example, the And for example, I think Scientology uses their addictions, the rehab. It's not a successful rehab center or program, but it's open to public. And I think that that's where, you get some of these gray areas is where you open up these programs to public and look, we're helping. But how many actual people who aren't a part of that religion are using it?
Right.
Probably very little. Probably very little.
Yeah. And the
Well,
ones that have used it have said there's nothing that will help you not do drugs in it.
Yeah.
There's no tools to stay sober.
Which is really
like Mother Teresa expected people to convert to help them. And
yes.
And that I didn't know for sure, but yeah, I mean, even people that society kind of the picture, like the so-and-so picture of this great person, if you have to convert, if you have to believe a certain way to get help and charity and support, I think there's something wrong with that.
Yeah, I do too.
There's actually a documentary right now that's talking about the Roman Catholics specifically. It's called Vatican Girl or Vatican Girls.
I've seen that. I haven't watched it, but I've seen it.
I suggest watching it, but I suggest having a Kleenex box near you and only doing one episode at a time. Yeah. It's not something that is emotionally binge-worthy.
Ooh.
So it's a girl goes missing in the mid 80s, and inside of the Vatican there's a village, and these are families that have served pope after pope after pope, and her specific family serves 7 generations, and she gets kidnapped, but somehow the pope is involved. Pope Jean Paul is involved in her kidnapping, and that's all I'm going to tell you. Yeah.
Damn.
I was going to say for Mischief, I wonder if Mischief's seeing Apostasy.
What is that?
Documentary on the Jehovah's Witnesses.
I've not seen that. I need to.
There's multiple of them.
That one too. What's it on?
I'm just pulling it up here. It's there's a couple of them. And I saw a YouTuber who did a example that I thought was really good. It's about a family united in devotion, and she makes a transgression that leaves the whole family in fear of God's wrath. It says. I know there's one documentary where the mom literally is about to take the child because the mom believes the child needs to go to the church services. That there are people that are so in these groups, people so diehard that they think that's okay. They think it's more important to save the child than to do something illegal. There's also
Yeah.
something known as theocratic warfare, where you can lie on the stand because they don't believe, if they don't, the world does not need to know.
Yeah.
They don't need to know. They don't deserve to know the truth. So you're authorized to lie about it and pretend that it doesn't exist and it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty standard par for the course. You know,
Yeah.
Scientology has its own version of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I suspect a lot of groups have a version of that.
Yeah.
That there's something that, you know, you don't tell the outside, and they don't tell you up front everything. They just slowly, and then you get love bombed when you come in, and then, you know, what, after love bombing, and they start to get you closer and closer in to the group, then you start to hear the other stuff. So you don't hear everything about what they believe up front.
Right.
Because it might not make any sense to you, and you might question it.
Yeah.
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 They'll give you the little morsel of truth, but then fill in all of the additional blanks with their information, their thought process, their beliefs. But you have that morsel of truth. So if you are in a conversation external group, you can say, but I know this to be true, and then everybody can agree on that. But here's everything else that is true too then. And everybody else is going, what? And
Right.
I don't fully agree, but there is going to be one or two people eventually that are like, oh, well, maybe it is true. And then that I would see that is how they would get their next member.
Yeah.
Well, and then they kind of, at least in the group that I was in, they fed you what they wanted you to believe, and they wanted you to think.
Yeah.
So you didn't think for yourself. You didn't question.
You didn't have time or the capacity to. You
No.
literally don't have the bandwidth as a human being.
Right. So you
How
get
do
to
you
the
take
point
in?
where you just do what you're supposed to. And there's
Go
always,
blind
you know, it's not enough. Let's do this. And you go right, you focus here. This is where you're supposed to be. Yep.
Mm-hmm. Oh
How are
my
you
goodness.
doing now, Carol? Because you've been out for a little while.
I got out in the fall of 2009.
Okay.
And I lived with my mom in South Texas for a year. I was in the cult in California, and then I came back here to Northwest Arkansas, and pretty quickly got with my husband. We had known each other from running in the same circles for years before, because I grew up here where I live now. And after 3 or 4 years of marriage, he said that the first year married to me, I reminded him of someone with Stockholm syndrome. So I probably had a good bit of that.
Yeah.
It was, I mean, just getting into normal everyday life without that thing was scary. You know, I was very scared for my eternal soul and all that stuff. You know, which, how did I get there? You know, but it was always the thing of everybody who ever left that church did so because they were in rebellion and they were on their way to hell, without exception.
Yep.
You know,
Which is what those groups tell you if you leave. You can't leave. Well, and I think it's extremely easy to get mixed up in that. I think it's far easier. I do find cults interesting to learn about, because I think it's really easy for everybody, every single one of us, to get caught up in that, because they get you at the right time. They find out your things, and they find out what they need to use to draw you in. And it's the people that are doing it, I think, don't even necessarily think that they're doing anything wrong. They're just doing that. We need to help these people.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep. I was
That's
gonna
the
say,
scary part.
yeah.
And
And the last person, I don't believe either, because we don't even have the actual original text from the Bible. We have copies of copies of copies of copies. of copies.
And it's been translated from Aramaic to how many different languages before religion or any European language?
Right.
There's
was it
broken telephone
Greek?
being played somewhere.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how I look at it. There's broken telephone being played somewhere, especially in the what I like to call art of religion.
I mean, I'm sure some of it was innocent, just an innocent little mistake here, mislettering there, which in another language could be the difference between night and day meaning of a certain thing.
Yep.
And then translating it across language. I mean, you can lose it in your own language. And then you're trying to cross languages.
Yeah.
And then there's no way that somebody isn't going to try to twist that stuff
Mm-hmm.
for their own ends, for their own personal interests.
Well, and it's
Exactly.
been used to force people to behave the way that the people in power wanted them to behave.
Yes.
So I know the group that I was in changed the wording.
Yeah.
I mean, and they're doing it intentionally, and they're being told that this is the correct Bible.
Yeah.
Yeah. The understanding I also have of Aramaic is certain words can mean like 15, 20 different things when you translate it to English. So something as simple as yalla means hurry up or let's do this. There's like 15 different things to that meaning. But now you translate it into a language where they don't understand. There's 15 different meanings. Which meaning was it? You know? It's terrifying.
Well, there's no way to know what the
Not at
original
this time.
author was trying to say.
No.
There's no way. We don't have copies of the copies of the copies of the copies.
Right.
Exactly.
CK, I did not live in Oral Roberts' facility. I did not get to go to Oral Roberts. I was talked out of it, but I was talked out of it in a way that made it as though I was talking myself out of it.
Of course.
This guy was really clever at that.
Of course. Wow. But yet it would probably have been the one thing, of course, it would have opened up your eyes. It would have made you start questioning sooner.
Maybe.
He knew.
Maybe.
He knew.
Yeah, maybe so. Maybe so. And I don't know what he thinks I could have done with that. I'm one person. I don't have a whole army of kids or anything, He should have just let me go because now I'm ready to talk.
Mm-hmm.
I might not have been willing to talk if I'd gone that route,
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
Yep.
I didn't see that side of it either. Yeah.
Because that would have been, I was only in a couple of years. I wouldn't have been able to see people lose their homes, and lose their jobs and lose their livelihoods, trying to keep up with doing the church's bidding, lose their lives. There were 2 people that lost their lives. One indirectly as a result of their service to the church, one directly.
Yeah.
Oh my Lord.
Wrong place, wrong time. We were having a conference at the place where we were meeting when I first got in the church, but there was a race that they had brought onto this. It was an abandoned Navy base, and we had a building in this abandoned Navy base, and they had a raceway thing on this campus of this thing, and somebody was putting up some kind of scaffolding thing, and it fell on a member of our congregation as he was trying to direct traffic to let people know and come into this conference where to go.
Oh no.
And his brother never got over it.
No.
He was messed up from there on. Just messed up. And it was messed up.
Yeah. And there's probably no no means of actually helping the brother process this in the cult, right?
Oh no. I
Yeah.
mean, they were martyrs.
Mm. Even
No one is free from, and he says, no one is free from their manipulation. Education, critical thinking, questioning are ways to see what they are and to avoid them. Yeah. Questioning is good.
Mhm.
If they've love bombed you in, you're so in love with them that you do anything. That was me.
Yep. Well, and they isolate you too. So they love bomb you in, and then they isolate you from some of your family and some of your friends, because those family friends don't meet the criteria, and you're trying of being a potentially good Christian, and
Yeah.
and then you kind of feel like you're stuck, that you don't have anywhere to go.
Yeah. And they've taken down your self-worth and your self-confidence enough that you actually believe that you can't do better than where you're at.
Right.
Yep.
I think that that's a big factor, especially. I don't think that that's something that happens right away. I think that's something that they do very slowly, but it gets to that point, I think.
And I have not checked that out. I just made a note so I can, because I
Yeah.
haven't. That would be
Let's
interesting.
Screenshot that actually, because I want to check that out myself. And mischief. Let's see. I wanted to ask something about that, mischief. Loving watching Scientology audit. Is that a YouTube channel? I feel like I've seen that. It's a cult. It's a scam. No one is being audited on Hollywood Boulevard right now, thanks to him. Oh, okay. I know who you're talking about. The guy who stands in front of out on Hollywood Boulevard, where all the Scientology buildings are, and harasses them and films their reactions.
It keeps people from wanting to go in, and the doors don't. Is that the guy?
It's a cult.
They'll lock the doors
Yeah.
because they don't want them to come
Yeah.
in. That's awesome. Yep.
Yeah, and I want to check that out too. I've just
It's
bought.
called Eden. Okay.
I've just bought the books that were left out of the Bible, including Mary Magdalene's contribution. Looking forward to reading it in the new year. Right on. I tried. It's tough reading. The parts that I got hold of. Yeah.
I just am so turned off of religion, and maybe, I'm probably going to find something again, but it's not, I know I don't believe in one higher power.
Right
I
on.
don't believe that there is one. I believe that we summon help from whichever one we need. So more of, like, I would say the Egyptian, Mayan, or Wiccan is probably the most relevant nowadays way of thinking. So the crazy juju stuff.
Oh, good. I have one of my friends is Wiccan.
Okay. Love it.
Yep. I know a
that cough.
couple of them, but yeah.
He has a YouTube channel.
Because excuse me, I'm nodding on cheese curds because I'm hungry.
Oh, nice.
I'm going to go and get some tomorrow. I'm craving them after talking about them yesterday.
These aren't as fresh though.
It's, by the way, I forgot to tell you guys, it's snowing today.
What?
Yeah.
We have no snow here. It's just cloudy and gray. It's been cloudy and gray all week for me.
Yes.
Yeah. We had a couple of sunshine days, but they were cold. But I got to keep this fire going because I'm gonna be glad I have it later on.
Exactly.
So I'm here and I'm listening. I'm just fixing my
How are
fire.
you doing, Stasia?
I'm better today than the last couple of days. Yes, getting the information that I'm not bipolar was wonderful, but then talking to the office here and saying we got to get that note to child services, it's going to make a big difference. Took a couple days of anxiety I didn't need to have. Like I didn't, or more like I didn't deserve to have, maybe is the way to say it. But I got the doctor's note today, and again, it cost me $65, which was a little bit of a hit. But I also got the muscle relaxers, so I will attempt taking half of one tonight. She said take a full one, and I'm like, I can handle like half a lorazepam, and that's it. Like, these things are gonna knock me on my butt. I'm not taking a full one, but I'm gonna try for my shoulder. If tonight I feel woozy and gross off a half, I probably just won't take them, because it's not worth me feeling disgusting to just get the one shoulder feeling relaxed, you know? So, and it'll last like 2 or 3 days. If I remember the last time I was on muscle relaxants, it was 2 or 3 days before I felt okay again.
Oh.
So I'm sober this time though.
Yeah.
So I'm a little bit nervous to take it, but at the same time, I'm going to try tonight. We'll see what happens.
One that you have taken before?
Yes, it is one that I have taken before. And I have already let the house know, like, my shoulder is killing me. I'm going to try taking one of these. I was hoping to hold off until Wee Man was on his next visit, but I don't think I can wait almost 2 weeks to try and figure out what's going on with my shoulder here. Like, got to wait for an ultrasound and an MRI, and I'm going to try and book that appointment for the massage. And I have 3 different options for the massage, so I'm trying to look forward to that. And I'll get the one with the medical assessment attached to it so that I can have more documentation on the injury.
Okay.
May as well take advantage, I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially since you got $65 invested in, already. Get all you
Exactly.
can. Yeah.
Exactly. I may as well be like, look, I got donated this massage, or, gifted this massage. I may as well take advantage of the fact that it normally be like $200 for that massage in general. So then I don't feel so bad over the $65 spent.
Okay. That makes
Right?
sense.
Yes.
Yeah,
And
totally.
mischief. We have tornadoes up here in the north a lot. So I hope you guys are all okay. Those things can be kind of nasty.
A tornado in Manchester never had one before, not in her lifetime.
It can be
intense.
nasty.
Wow. What the planet is going through for all of this to be happening.
Rolling Stone says, plant freak. I bought a nice Wiccan calendar for myself for Christmas. My mother saw it and about had a cow. I tried to explain, but she's still praying for my lost eternal soul.
I love it. I love it.
I know someone who has jokingly said they're part of the Satanic Temple. It came out because I think it's Florida that tried to have Christianity added to the curriculum, and so
I remember,
they wanted the Satanic Temple, and it's the name that freaks people out because they don't actually believe in Satan or worship Satan. None of that at all. It's just it's like charity and being good for humanity. It's actually not that different from anything else. But people freak out about the name.
I love it. I love it. Like, they were literally naming it to troll people.
Yes.
I love it.
I agree.
Oh, perfect. It's already there. I was going to say, Carol, I think Christine popped in. But you already put the link. You're ahead of it.
No, I watched her. I did see her comment to drop the link. So
okay. Oh my goodness. I got a cute little voice clip from her. I'm just about to talk about your voice clip. Is that okay?
Me?
I got one too.
Yeah, you can talk about it.
Okay, so I got this cute little voice clip too, and it was just after, like, we're trying to get food into Rowan. I know I'm running late. I was irked. I was severely irked, okay? And then we have a mutual love of Nickelback, and so
my guilty pleasure band.
So she's like, it's that time of the month, and it's that time of the month when I'm listening to Nickelback, and I'm bawling in the car. But then she further explains that she's doing this in a drive-through, asking for a cheeseburger. She just ends up getting free fries as well. The person is like, sound like you're having a bad day.
Aw.
Like, I was dying. At that point, I was dying laughing. Everything that was bothering me was gone. So I'm really happy that you sent that to me. Thank you.
So
Yeah,
well,
we wish. There's always going to be a segment of the population that will not allow it to be separate.
Yeah. And there's another section that fights for it to be separate. So there's
Yeah.
going to be a little, I can't remember who said something about us needing to not think of the other group as like the enemy, that they're because if we think of them as it's like them and they're the enemy, then we continue to fight instead of trying to find common ground. So I'm trying really hard
Right.
Yeah.
to not think of other people as being a little crazy, because I understand why certain things are, why you'd want to do this, or why you would want to impose your opinion on somebody else, or think that everybody should believe the same way you do. I don't understand that.
Yeah. I mean, I understand it, but, because I was one of those people for a while, I understand
too,
it. I
but
understand how it happens.
I understand how it happens, but I guess even though I was born and raised in that, it feels so wrong to me
Yeah,
to
it
expect
does.
somebody else to do. And I don't know, maybe it's because I also felt that something was wrong, and
Yeah.
it didn't feel right even when I was a kid. I don't know, but yeah.
Well, and I think when you believe something that is maybe not accepted as a standard, you're not Catholic, you're not Baptist, you're not Mormon, you're not, whatever. I think when you have beliefs that are different than other people's, then I do think a lot of people question and they look at you funny, and they I get that, where um and I think it's where just having a conversation is important.
Yes.
It's like, why do you believe what you believe? Don't try to change my mind. I'm not going to try to change yours. I just want to understand your belief system. And I think our ability to have those conversations, whether it's religion, politics, whatever, has gone out the window. And I think having it in schools is really dangerous
I
because
don't think that there's a lot, like people that are entrenched in a dogma. I don't think that they know why they believe what they believe. They believe it because they're being fed it, and that
Mhm,
with the threat of hellfire if they don't believe it.
mhm. Now, I do think there are some people, my brother is a good example of somebody who was born and raised a Baptist and then went and really explored all the other religions. Like he looked into the Jewish religion and Buddhism and Taoism and Mormonism and all of it to decide if it's really what he believed. And he came back to it and decided, yeah, it's really what I believe. And he can sit down and tell you, this is why I believe it. And when he was exploring it, he really was looking, and I think that's a sign of emotional intelligence, right? Like, do I believe this because, like you said, I was spoon fed it, or do I believe this because this is really what I believe? I think you're right. I think a lot of people are entrenched in it. I think people can be so entrenched, and not just religions. I mean, spiritual people, cults, the whole thing. You can just be so in it that when stuff starts really getting far out there, you still kind of just take it and
Yeah.
go. I think that we need to be able to have conversations about differing opinions and have it be nice and polite and learn something.
Yeah.
But
But
I
a
do
cult
agree.
leader will not allow any of their people that they have
No.
that they have control over to be involved in that conversation.
Who? I'm sorry.
No, and
Cult-
honestly,
good cult
when I
leader.
was
Yeah.
when I was growing up, I wasn't allowed to go to other churches. I wasn't allowed to talk to people from other churches because it would confuse me. So I mean, I understand that it's not something that might happen, but it would be nice if it could, so that we could, have a conversation as a society. But I
One
don't
thing
think it should be in schools.
One
No.
thing I do give Canada is that I don't know if in the States there's a Catholic school system, But for example, where I grew up, there's public and there's Catholic and private school systems. 95% of my education is through the Catholic school system. And once I got to high school, they actually did courses not just on Catholicism, but on different religions as well, so that we did have an understanding, at least where to find the information, what these things were called. And that kind of opened up my eyes and was like, oh, wait, you mean this doesn't have to be shoved down my throat? But they didn't tell me until high school. Until then,
right.
it's shoved down your throat.
Right.
But that's one thing that I will give Canada and the Catholic school system here is that they give us the option to learn about other religions. And cults came up in part of that. You know, they try to cover everything, especially the last 2 years of high school.
Okay.
So
Wow.
impressive on that part for Canada. One
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's a good thing. Yeah, I mean, we have Catholic schools here, and we have, like private Baptist schools, and they're called charter schools.
Yeah.
So different
Okay.
religions have their own schools.
Yeah.
And then of course, we've got public schools, but I think our school system is very underfunded and lacking, and I think we could do a lot to improve it. I mean, I do. I think parents need to step up a little bit more. I think the school needs more funding. I think teachers need to be paid better. I think parents and teachers need to work better to ensure that their kids get a quality education. I mean, think about it. The kids are with their classmates and their teachers, as more sometimes than their home. There's got to be, we talk about a work-life balance. We need to have like a school life balance. I think, but I mean, we're so divided as a country right now. I mean, we couldn't even, I tell you what, I think if I think the sides could argue whether the flag is red, white, and blue. I think they would
At
say it's
this
like
point,
burgundy and eggshell, and I mean, it's just
blue, white, and red. No, it's white,
White, red, and blue.
yes, yeah. I mean, we're just so divisive, and as a world, there's so much going on. I think we've just lost our compassion, our humanity a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, I really do.
desensitized even maybe.
Yeah.
Like it is a loss of humanity and compassion, but I'm honestly thinking we have desensitized ourselves as a society. The amount that we look at, the amount that we allow ourselves to go through, and the social media and the internet, it's a great thing, but it's helped that process.
Yeah, I think it's I think kids should still have to learn how to actually write a letter and how to, like really, what does a pronoun mean? What does a noun mean? What is a verb? Because, those are all very different things. They have different meanings. How do you structure a sentence? How do you balance a checkbook? How do you, pay your taxes? How do you bake a cake? I mean, we know I would flunk that class, but hey, I would show up. And then I would be like,
And
nobody
maybe
should
the
tell
cookie
me.
baking would be better now.
Probably would. No,
I
I
think
would still be
make
like,
those
you
important.
cannot tell me how much baking soda. Okay, I measure that with my soul. Not really. But I do think basic things should be taught. And I think we've just gotten away. Sometimes simpler really is better. I mean,
Yes.
truly, it don't make it complicated.
Well, things like
That would be a good thing to know too.
yes, I
I
agree. I think abstinence has never prevented it does not prevent the majority of children from doing something. And empathy, yes. And what's the I'm trying to figure out sorry, my brain's having a moment. The word for, in essence, being kind.
compassion.
Not compassion, but something else. We need this has left our society. Compassion wasn't the word I was thinking, but we could utilize it. That the ability to be kind to other people. That that there is a different word than compassion, but our society.
Sympathetic.
No, I'm sorry, I can't. My brain is having it'll come to me later when we're not on this call. But
it'll be up on a Facebook group as soon as she remembers.
Right.
That we've
Please stay
lost.
tuned.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Sorry.
Well, and
But
I
that we've
think
lost that ability to. It's being polite, being, huh?
Philanthropy. That's kind of a more of a money thing, isn't it?
yeah, philanthropy is more to do with
Or
charities.
time.
And I wasn't laughing at what you said. I got a really funny text, and so just to be clear, I was not laughing at you. It just popped up on my screen.
Now we're trying to help her
Yeah.
find the word decency, charity.
And it's so explain the word again. It's
The
to help.
Mind.
It's being polite. It's things like please and thank you. The ability to,
Manners? Etiquette.
well,
Etiquette?
and those are
Like
the
a
words.
social etiquette.
Huh?
Yeah, I'm thinking like if we just put like social in front of it, like a social etiquette at this point, it is what we're lacking. It really is.
It's like saying please and thank you and being kind and considerate to other people, and things like holding the door for someone or giving somebody who obviously needs a seat the place on the bus or the train or whatever. Somebody's obviously.
I would just say that's being a humanitarian. That's just being a decent person. Like
Yes.
it encompasses all of that: manners, social etiquette, chivalry, and I think some of that went away because, honestly, I remember when the boys were dating, like girls would just be really brutal to them, like online, and really mean. And teenagers don't really even go on dates anymore. Like I remember when I was in high school, like you would get asked out on a date, and then it was like this big deal, and so even if you just went to McDonald's or you went to the rodeo, I had a lot of those dates, but like there was something about it. And I think just that personal touch in society, like that connection, because everything is all digital. And although it's great in an instance like this, there, there's other ways where it's not, because that's how you learn, your social cues. And you know,
We're all just gonna turn antisocial individuals. What's that movie? Wall-E is what I think of, where they're all really big and they're floating around in their little floaty machines with their Slurpee cups. And like every single person looks identical. Every person thinks identically. You think out of the box. There's a problem. Yeah, that movie is like, I mean, I have made sure my son watches that movie because to me it's huge that I'm like, this shall not happen. This shall not happen.
Well, and that's why I like to watch older.
I'm going to look up that movie in the future.
WLL with an E. WLLE.
Yeah.
Okay. Wall-E.
Yes.
Okay.
Fell asleep.
Yeah. Because I think we should be able to expect and appreciate, and that's beautiful. The fire.
It really is.
Yeah.
We should be able to be kind and considerate and to everyone, no matter what they are, and it shouldn't matter what they believe, and
it shouldn't.
It should,
and somehow we have fostered this being defensive over each person's beliefs, and that is something that's been fostered. That has been something that's been fed in our society. I feel like I could be completely crazy, and that's probably royal hats, but
and intolerance for anyone who's not exactly like us.
That's right.
Because all of us are different. The bottom, like even if we tried, we couldn't be the same.
Right. Well, and even I just got done reading a book on this, and I know how people might take this person, but research wise and writing wise, I really like this person's ability to research, and that he works with a historian and everything like that. But Bill O'Reilly, okay, everybody cringe, but nobody drop off. Like, I'm not saying I believe in his political things or anything like that. I'm just saying his books are very well researched, very well thought out. All points of views are given. And I just got done reading one called Killing the Witches. And it was talking about the Salem witch trials, and how basically it was like 4 or 5 little girls, like between the ages of like 12 and 15, that were determining people's lives. They were making stuff up, and saying, oh, they bewitched me, and then they got more and more popular, and then it was this whole frenzy, and it started based on a religious thing, and it just turned into this whole debacle, and people got killed that were innocent, and it was just a very bad thing. And it's stuff like that, just even that level of intolerance, and you look at it and you say, oh, well, that wouldn't happen today. Well, wouldn't it?
Yes, it
Hasn't
would
it?
happen
Like,
today.
that's
Yeah.
why history is important, and
Mhm.
all parts of it. It doesn't matter. There are bad parts of everybody's history, just like there are good parts. But you learn from the bad, and you just try not to do that again. I mean, that's why we don't say certain dictators' names. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so
Well, I do feel that there is a lot of merit to being able to look at and to read things that you don't agree with.
yeah.
And I've never considered reading Mein Kampf, but there's a certain portion of me that would like to kind of know what some
was
of
it
the
worth?
things are. Huh?
Yeah. How
Just-
did he get there?
Right.
Yeah.
I just
kind
want
of
to say,
understand that a little bit better. Not because I think we should ever be there, but if we
right.
don't learn and we don't, because people use that today to justify continuing to do the same kind of thing. And I would kind of like to understand it better.
Mhm.
But
Mary, I'm so sorry that people think that your daughter is being rude because she doesn't look someone in the eyes.
I have a little bit of trouble with that off and on,
Yeah.
here and
I
there.
mean,
I
people
find.
it's really
And-
common, I think,
Mhm.
isn't it?
Yeah,
With kind
like-
of autistic people.
Yes.
yeah.
My ex-stepson is autistic, medium on the side of high, because now it's just 3 different sections. There's not Asperger's and all of that.
Mhm.
He's gotten better as he got older to look people in the eye, but you have to be a family member, and you have to be a family member that he sees on a regular basis. Otherwise,
Uh-huh.
it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
I was gonna say, I would like us to teach about if we're going to teach about different people, I'd like us to teach more about things like autism and
Mhm.
like the neurodivergent, because there's a certain, those of us that fall into that don't necessarily respond the same way or think the same way as somebody else does, just because we're just not wired the same way.
Right.
And maybe
I
You
got
know-
injured. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, growing up in Fort Collins, there is she's a professor at CSU, and her name is Temple Graydon, and she is actually autistic. And she redesigned how animals that were, I mean, that were being led to slaughter, that are, for meat. She designed a better way for them to have that happen so that it was more humane. And she is actually like really amazing with horses, and she is such a smart person. But we learned about her because she was a member of our community. And autism was something that I didn't know anything about. My neighbor was autistic, but that was it. And now my grandson is autistic, but he's on the very high end of it. And it's something that I'm always learning about. And, and I'm always saying to my daughter, like, she messaged the other day and she's like, he's in full autistic sensory overload meltdown. And he was playing with beans or something. I mean, he wasn't throwing a fit. I didn't know what it would look like, but I was like, tell me what this means. Like, what does this mean? What do you do? How do you help him? Like, because I don't know it, but I want to learn, and I think it just goes back. I think people have lost their compassion and their willingness to learn, and and they have a great inability to set aside judgment, like they're just not able to do it. And I think when when it's a person, like, no,
Well, and a Rolling Stone said when I moved to New York City, I had to be told not to look people in the eyes or smile. I was going to say in Midwest, smiling at people is normal and common. It's a sign of being like friendly and polite. And looking someone in the eye, I was always trained, well, when I did self-defense, you look somebody in the eye so that they know you see them. You don't look down. You could look any way but down because you don't want to appear to be the victim.
Oh yeah, we have everybody waving at us as we drive by. I don't know any of them, but I'm like, hi, hey, hello, hi, nice to see you. How's your mom? Don't know your mom. Hope she's good. It's really, my daughter is a visual thinker, and so her dog, she's amazing with them. She works now with dogs and has taken past 2 weeks off due to the holidays. She misses work. You should be a proud mom. I watched it by myself, once with my daughter, and then asked her if that's how she viewed life. It was so eye-opening, and I watched it with the commentary. Yeah,
that's awesome.
I think
go ahead, Carol.
I wanted to address Rolling Stone's question. Is it a protective thing? I mean,
masking.
I mean, it can happen without us even realizing we've gone there. We have put on a mask. If we knew we had a mask on, some of us would never have allowed it. And so, you do come up with ways that are self-preservation oriented. And I think that's one of them.
Yes, I completely agree, because I'm still working on my ADHD diagnosis, but it's evident that I am.
Yeah.
And there's certain things that I just don't do in front of people I don't know. And the reason being is I just answered her saying, okay, she'll get back to us when Isla's off the phone with her. Yeah. There's just things I won't do in front of people I don't know, because I don't trust how these people are going to react, and I can't handle the reaction. On top of that, I had no idea until a couple of weeks ago that every form of neurodivergency has a stim, just like autism. It just depends on the person. And I do what's called an overstimulation tool.
Okay.
So for some autistic individuals, it really depends on how autistic they are. But my foster brother used to go like this.
Okay.
And shake his hands and roll his feet and rock back and forth. And that's how we knew that he was overstimulated.
Okay.
For me, I rub my feet together. I constantly rub my feet together. And it's called cricketing. And the doctor that I saw a couple of days ago, she goes, "You're cricketing." What are you talking about? You're cricketing. You're rubbing your feet together. Your shoes are on and you're still doing it. And she's like, that's not common. So you're in high anxiety mode right now. And I'm just like, I didn't even know that ADHDers stemmed. Like, I had no clue. Every neurodivergent the whole spectrum of neurodivergency, they will stim when they're stimulated, oversensitized, everything. Over emotional even. That's another big one, especially with autistic individuals.
Yeah.
over emotion, they instead of doing their stim, like with your grandson, he might just shut down at the level that you say that he is. Riley, my stepbrother, or my not stepbrother, sorry, foster brother, when he got over emotional, we didn't see him. Like he would be in the room, but you couldn't see in his eyes anymore. And he's nonverbal. He's still nonverbal. He's
Wow.
in his 20s, but he's a computer scientist, by the way. So nonverbal, computer scientist, but he will just shut down completely. And you won't like you can't see what's happening back in his brain anymore. So it's different for everybody, but masking is the same all throughout the neurodivergency scale. It's so that people don't see that we can't function.
I wonder if that's why I have a habit of picking at my lips. And it wouldn't have shown up when I went in for my ADHD testing because I mask. I wear an N95 if I go out in public or I'm going to be around a bunch of people just for safety.
Yes.
But it's a habit of mine to pick at my lips when I get nervous which is why
I do it when I'm deep. I do it when I'm deep in thought. And I've noticed it more since I've been on here because I'm on camera. I see myself doing it, but I'll do this.
Yeah.
So if I'm ever really deep in thought and I'm like playing with my lip, that's what it is. I'm really thinking, some people do this, but that's interesting.
Yeah.
That's
So there's overstimulations that will set, for example, an autistic person right off the rails. Whereas with a ADHD or an ADD person, they might not go so far off the rails, but they'll start overstimulating and they'll start doing their comfort thing so that they can manage themselves just that little bit better.
Oh, wow.
But that makes sense, though.
I wanted
that makes complete sense.
A. Kenneth says, Rolling Stone for mine, masking was watching and mimicking others so they fit in. Rolling Stone says, people down south are totally nice. Yeah, they'll invite you to church in a heartbeat, I tell you what. Mary Jones, the change for my daughter was her autism service dog, Jordan. Oh, Jordan. All right, Jordan, a job well done. Jordan was life-changing and life-saving for my daughter. Is she going to be able to get another service dog, Mary Jones? We all need different kind of thinking. I would be glad to come on and talk about autism and dealing with fibromyalgia. That would be really
amazing.
Yeah, we would love to hear that.
Do you want today or another time? Just let us know. Because I put the link in. In fact, I'll just put it there, and you don't have to do anything with it, or you can do something with it.
Kenneth just mentioned mimicking others so you fit in. I've done that too.
Okay.
Like you're in a situation and you don't know how to respond, so you just I'd sit in the back of the room and see what everybody else did.
Really?
Okay.
Oh.
And then you copy what other people are doing or how they respond. So you you look like you fit in.
Yeah. Yes. I still do it. To this day, I still do it. And especially because I'm in a place where I don't speak the language. Like there's certain things that I'll do now so that people think I'm understanding them, but I will have to walk away because I'm so overwhelmed with how much French is coming at me and how fast it's coming at me. And I just I don't even have the energy to say, I don't understand you. And then
so it's easier for you to just walk away than to say, slow down, help me to understand you?
Yeah, because it's not just the language barrier, but I would also call it slight language-ism. If you're not trying or trying in their thought process, they're not going to try with you. And it's like, I'm just going through so much. I don't have the energy. Sure. I don't have the confidence. I don't have all of these things to be trying. I definitely understand more and I'm speaking a little bit more French. But like the last 2 days, like people have been used to me understanding more. But the last 2 days, my French is just not working at all. And I've had to I looked at one person and was like, I'm sorry, I'm in my own little land. I'm not getting it today. But she just kept going for like 25 minutes. And I was like, okay, I'm done. I need to walk away. Screw this. And I upped and left the kitchen.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. And to be, to know you don't speak the language and to still be that disrespectful to you.
Apparently, I'm disrespectful for just being in this province and not speaking French. That's the mindset.
Yeah.
Yeah. And sorry, somebody just said crocheting. All I saw was crocheting. I love crocheting.
Rolling Stone
Wow.
wanted to ask you, Plant Freak, is cricketing like psychometer agitation? I just discovered that term today, but I've had it all my life.
I don't know this term. So this is something for me to look up and learn.
Plant, what is the difference between neurodivergency and mania, if you know?
I can't give you a definition on that, but being diagnosed bipolar and being told that I was in manias and understanding now that they weren't manias, they were hyperfixations. I was not getting to a point where I was happy and everything, I was trying to constantly find that almost like an adrenaline hit is what I understand with the mania. For me, the hyperfixation, it's because I'm anxious. I'm not finding happiness in my hyperfixations, which could then be mistaken as a mania. But I'm just doing this to calm myself down.
Right.
That's it. Yeah.
Hello, Mary Jones.
Hi.
Welcome.
Hey.
Nice.
Wow.
Rather than trying to explain it through type. Christina's not going to get another service animal. She doesn't need that at that point. But Jordan came into her life when she desperately needed to have that dog that just flipped the switch.
Yeah.
Wow.
Good.
Good.
Good. That's amazing.
He could alert us to a dog. I don't know if your grandson has a dog or not around, but he could alert us and say she's going to have a meltdown.
Okay. Wow.
It's, they do, but they're not service dogs. They've got pit bull mixes that they've had since Ryder was, or since my grandson was little.
Probably if they're pit, because they're very sensitive. We have a Staffy that's kind of her emotional support dog that we're taking care of. He can alert, or she can tell if Christina's off, or if she needs a deep pressure or something. If they pay attention, they probably can alert
I'll
them.
have to mention that to her and see.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I didn't
Rocket
know.
does the same thing with Gavin. Rocket does the exact same thing with Gavin. And Rocket, we got at 4 months old. And he will go down to the basement if he knows and can just tell that the energy is off.
Where's that?
Try closing it and starting it again. Sorry, I've got technical issues over there.
Christina was having she was just having a moment, and Mocha chose to go comfort her versus eating her dinner.
Oh wow.
Because something, she laid in there for half an hour just doing it. And if they can actually teach the dog to actually put pressure on the individual, that will often calm them down too.
Pup Groomer says if you need any service dog info, I can help with that.
We're working to try to get my husband a diabetic service animal. That's what we're working to try to happen.
Nice.
But a service animal, if you can't get it through an organization, can be easily $15,000 to $25,000.
Ooh.
Which is wrong.
Wow.
I think
I
Jordan
agree.
was $50,000, but he was worth every penny.
Right. Wow.
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 That is insane.
Well, guys, I forgot to tell you that since it's snowing, I probably should get out there while there's still some daylight. Keep going. I might even be able to get chores done in time to come back.
That sounds good.
Okay.
Whatever you guys want to do.
I'm open.
I'm gonna pop out there and go tend to some things, and I'll get back here quick as I can.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
For the person who looked who was asking about neurodivergence and mania, neurodivergent, I just looked up the definition, and it just says that it's differing in mental or neurological function from what is considered typical or normal. There are some things I just can't figure out. Neurodivergent students may have a model for. So I think to answer your question, neurodivergent is more with how you think, how your brain processes things. Mania has to do with your surroundings and your heightened, it's more like depressive or manic. When people are manic, they're usually like hypersensitive. They spend more, they talk fast, they've got more energy, they're outgoing, they engage in more risky behaviors. So I think that they're different in the way of, if I'm reading this right, neurodivergent is just how your brain processes things, and it's not considered typical. What I hate that word typical, like whatever that means. But so it doesn't seem like it's the same thing.
No, it's definitely not the same thing, but it can easily be confused in a diagnosis, 100%. Especially if you're presenting as a depressive individual. Depressive and neurodivergency can look very much like bipolar. Very, very much like bipolar, which is what my issue was.
Here it says mania can feel a wonderful, exciting, productive place to be when it's going on. That absolutely does happen. It can be extremely disconcerting or even dangerous for a person when they still feel this sense that something is not right and they are not fully in control of themselves. Isn't it amazing how you can have all these definitions and all these people who go to school and you can still get misdiagnosed?
My
Yes.
daughter was,
Chat.
and it would have saved us so much if she had been diagnosed right. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like,
Let's see. We have a Boston Terrier pug mix that helps our daughter. He's great. Nice. Pup groomer. Service dogs can be owner trained per ADA laws. Very cool.
and they can be. It just, you still have to pay somebody to help you train, and it still can be at least $5,000 to $7,000. It's still a cost, unfortunately.
Yeah. Henny says, thanks, Christy Plant Freak. I've been diagnosed mania and other things. I know my friends, when I've seen them go through bipolar mania, man, I tell you what, there are no more productive people on the planet than those two women. I mean, they are like, gathering the eggs, cracking the eggs, making the pancakes from scratch, and then they're like painting the walls and planting a garden. But they're also like, my one friend, when she gets manic, she buys 3 of everything. And that's her manic thing. And it, that can be, I've seen it, and it can be really intense. And once you know it, you know what you're looking at. But if you don't know it, at first you just think, wow, this person's on fire today. It says, y'all are the best, but I have to dip. Sure do appreciate y'all. See you soon. Also, there's the issue of little to no research on girls with ADHD and ASD.
Yep.
Henny wanted to know how one can differentiate between the two, between neurodivergent and mania. Is that your question, Henny? If it is, mania is just, it's just hyper focus, hyper activity, just a lot of energy. Like your mind just kind of races. There's a lot of things going on. You're just going to feel really good. And sometimes what I've seen, manic people don't even really know that they're manic until somebody points it out to them, until you're like, hey, you've bought 3 of the exact same cups twice. How you feeling? And then they have to kind of check in with themselves. Yeah. Rolling Stone says, when I get manic, I can solve the world's problems without even trying. I worked at a restaurant one time, and the cook was manic, and he wanted to do. Let me give you this example. He wanted to do away with the menu, and he wanted to have everybody come back in the kitchen and just tell him face to face what he wanted, and he would just make them whatever they wanted. Like if they wanted eggs, they could have eggs. If they wanted, creme brulee, he would make them creme brulee. But he was in a manic state, and we had to explain that won't work because you can't go into the kitchen, you can't do all of these different things. But to hear him explain it, he's like, oh, I can totally do this. Like in his mind, he had it all sorted out how he was going to do it. It was really interesting to watch that.
And Rolling Stone had just said basically a mania is too much adrenaline, which is what my understanding of it was. Apologize, my face has gotten super close because I needed to plug in my phone. So adrenaline, it's too much adrenaline, whereas neurodivergency, my brain literally does not function like a neurotypical individual.
Mhm.
I am unable, ADHD math. So if you're going to add 10 plus, or sorry, let's say 8 plus 7, I break down one of those numbers, whereas other people just put those two numbers together. I can't see a number that is 8 plus 7. I need to break down the 7, and I take 2 from that, and I put it over to the 8, so that's a 10. And then I'm able to go, oh, that's 15. Like my
I go
brain...
8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15.
I don't use I can't use my hands. It confuses me. I have to break it down in my head like that to be able to get a whole number to the next thing. Everybody does theirs a little bit differently, and that's just ADHD. Now, when you talk autism, and I'm sure that Mary has way more understanding of this.
Yeah.
Hold on, I'm in an important conversation. Give me 1 second. 1 second. With autism, I did a program through the province of Manitoba, and it was called Saint Amant. And they helped us get my ex-stepson from pre-school level to a grade 1 level so that he could go into public school. And they put us through a sensory overload. They blindfolded us. There was people coming around touching us constantly. There was a bunch of sensations that they had going on, and they're like, this is what your child feels.
Oh my
And
goodness.
it was eye-opening and intense. And that is like, every neurodivergent individual is different, and with every different form of neurodivergence, it's different. But
Well,
all that they are able to say is neurodivergence is not a typical brain.
go to your local grocery store and pay attention to everything. The lights, the sounds of the refrigerator, the wheels of the shopping cart moving, people talking, the music, everything. And when someone who's autistic goes into a store, we didn't go to Walmart till we had Jordan. When somebody goes into a store, that's what their life is all the time. They cannot block out things. She had to learn how to drive. She had to go through a program that taught her that you can't look at everything. You've got to look at the important stop, like the stop sign and the stop light, because they want to take in everything, and it's really hard for them to block out everything, and then they get overloaded, and they can't do it. She was in school at one point, and they were transitioning from language class to a loud lunchroom, back to language class. Then she was leaving and going to math class at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And we were all in a meeting, and this math teacher looked at me and she said, I found her playing with a paperclip. And I'm like, so? She goes, I said, why? She was trying to calm herself down. So why are you taking away the paperclip? Well, she wasn't listening to me. Yes, she was. She was probably listening more to you with the paper than she was without. So I will make sure she has 100 sitting in her backpack.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's truly insane. Yeah. With Gavin, my ex-stepson, they had given him a quiet space where he could go and he could sit down and try and relax. But in public schools, it just was not. He was not able to. His mom had moved. When his mom had moved back to Quebec here, there's a separate program for like kids with special needs. So he was put into the program for that, and that's helped gratefully, or not greatly. But there needs to be more education in general for these systems, for these brain types, and there needs to be a lower cost to these service animals.
Yep.
$15,000 to $25,000 is incredible. And then to try and train a dog yourself as a non-trainer and then have it qualify is next to impossible. It is next to impossible.
Let me tell you, people that will be with us and say, I want to train my dog to do exactly what that dog is doing so I could take it anywhere. And my next question out of my mouth was, what's the disability? Oh, I don't have one. And it took everything in my being to not want to across the face. You know what? Get this dog? Do you know it's a felony to do what you want to do? And people would just put vests on their dogs and take them in stores. And you know, obviously, which ones are real and which ones are fake.
So now, isn't there a difference between an emotional support animal and a service dog? Isn't an emotional support animal someone to just kind of be there to help you feel better, but a service dog is like an actual, like, something's wrong with my owner? And those two things are different, right? Am I right? I don't know. That's why I'm asking.
I'd love to be able to put a vest on Mocha. I love she's staffy, but I would never go out and pretend she could be a service dog. She can't. She doesn't have the temperament for it. And I know that he would not have done anything. Now, for emotional support wise, yeah, she can tell if somebody's upset, and that's great, and that's fine. But I cannot take Mocha into a grocery store or into a hospital or any place like that. And people do, unfortunately, and this is an emotional support or service dog when it's not. And then it gives a bad rap to people that actually have service animals.
Mm-hmm.
So people pretend that their dogs are service dogs as opposed to emotional support dogs to be able to take them places?
Yep.
Yes.
I don't mean to sound stupid. I just don't know.
Yeah, I didn't know that for a while. There's a long time before I realized that was the case. And you can tell the service animal, because there's part of the reason they're so expensive is because of all the stuff that has to go into training them, and it starts from when they're a little puppy, and and sometimes you can fail out of service dog training
at the very end. They could be going through and they're almost done and they failed one thing.
Yep. And so whereas an emotional, like my cat's classified as an emotional support animal, but my cat can't go with me to the grocery store, or she can't do any of the stuff that a normal service animal does. Service animals often are like, they're trained where they could help you walk. Like people who are blind might have one to help them get onto. I remember I used to take the bus. There was an emotional support or a service dog that would help guide him so he could cross the street. And the dog knows, like even if they're not the little, those raised dots next to the end of a curb that are designed for people who are blind, the dog would still stop. Yeah, and the dog would help that person know when to go, kind of thing. So they're trained to do all that.
I just wanted to say one thing. Kristen, welcome in. Pup groomer, this is amazing. No, I have no problem with you saying that you talk about this on your channel. What is the name of your channel? Put it in the chat, because this is interesting, and people can go over and like and subscribe and learn more about it and share their views on it. I think that's great that you talk about this on your channel.
Anique, if you have the power, do you mind dropping Pup Groomer's channel in the chat for us, please? And one thing that I wanted to mention about service dogs as well, the only ones that I have experience with are ones that worked with my foster brother. And he was autistic. So Zorro would put weight on him. He would literally sit on his lap and lay on his chest. I have seen videos. Okay, I can't help you find her. I told you to wait till. Sorry, my daughter and my son are playing Roblox together, and so he's using his phone to call her and use his tablet to figure out where she physically is in the game. It's great.
Gotcha.
So I've also seen a YouTube channel lately, and it's just shorts. It's a girl that has a heart problem, and the dog can just smell when her breath changes that if there's going to be a severe cardiac issue, the dog gets her down and laying down. It can also tell by the way she's moving or breathing that she's having a small cardiac issue. So he will pull open the fridge, get her a water, tell her to sit down, check your watch. Like these things are trained.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
My
Yeah, I didn't know
she was going to a public school setting, and there was a principal
Where are you?
school, and I know, that eventually my goal was to get Jordan in the school, but she changed schools very shortly after. And the principal looked at me and said, Vice Principal, I see your daughter has a service dog. Well, we have a ton of ASD kids in our school, and none of them have service dogs. And I said, ma'am, I could care less whether one or all of them have. If my daughter benefits from having a service animal, she's going to get it. And she did. Because what they also found out is that children with ASD tend to sleep better with a warm body beside them. So I didn't know what it was like to sleep prior to Jordan coming in.
Interesting.
Slept through the night. I didn't wake up. And then later on, she was diagnosed with diabetes. And he actually taught himself at certain times to alert if her blood sugar was off.
Because
So like
they can smell it with diabetes.
Yes. Like with my husband, he has an Omnipod, he has his Dexcom, but there's times that his Dexcom has failed. If there's a noise that goes off, I can be awake in minutes, seconds actually, to know, wait a minute, we got to check. But if a service dog was there, they can detect about 30 minutes prior to any device going off. If my husband was by himself and passed out, that dog has a special box to dial. 911 knows they've got to get here and help him because he has nobody. So if you ever go or out in public and there is a service dog that comes up to you without their owner, follow them.
I've heard that. Yeah. I wanted to say, Kristen says my 4-year-old is autistic. Our dog is not trained as a service dog, but he has such a great effect on him. I think it's the same way with my grandson. I think that my daughter's dogs are just way too rambunctious to be trained that way. But but they love him. And Rolling Stone, yeah, when you're manic, that you have a lot of energy to get a channel up and going. You've got a lot of ideas and do it. Sometimes seeing those to fruition in a manic state can be a little difficult. Write them down, write them in your journal, write down all of your ideas. And then when you're not in a manic state anymore, because you'll get there, go back and revisit them so you don't lose those ideas and see which ones are great and which ones you're like, well, maybe that's a little far reaching. I'm not saying any of your ideas are far reaching, but do that. That way you don't lose any ideas. Let's see. And Pup Groomer says she's training her own service dog for mobility and psychiatric. Wow, that's impressive. Awesome. Anik just subscribed to you, Pup Groomer. Yay. Let's see. Kristen says, she'll be cheering you on, Rolling Stone. Yeah.
Oh, where is she?
I have joint hypermobility, anxiety, depression, and insomnia. Oh. What does hypermobility mean?
That's a good question. Okay, so I understand the overextending of joints. I have it in my elbows and some in my hips.
And that's part of what my friend has, who had to have reconstruction on her foot because her body moves and the joints, the ligaments, and the tendons apparently don't support things properly. And so she can risk turning an ankle in a way that like normally it would not do what it does. And it can cause a lot of issues where they end up kind of handicapped or not being able to do a lot of things.
Thank you for listening.
Oh, wow.
This is the dog.
Oh,
My baby.
Beautiful.
Let's cover your mouth like that.
Qualify as a service animal. I love her.
Speaking of dogs,
Come
sweetie,
here.
you be the good girl.
That puppy right there. See the puppy? Aww. And hypermobility is apparently something that is highly neurodivergent. I knew I had heard the word, I just couldn't remember what it was. But double jointed joints, like with the elbows overextending instead of going straight, they'll like. I'm not able to do it right now because my phone's plugged in to show you. But the arm will go straight, but then it'll go a little bit past.
Yes.
Like straight the other direction.
Really?
My
Yeah.
Wow.
And it be really nice one moment, and then another person.
Kristen, Anik has hypermobility too.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's
Now,
fairly common apparently in women.
Is anxiety, depression, and insomnia part of being neurodivergent? Or are those all separate things? Like, I mean, I understand they're all separate things typically, but is that something that neurodivergent people have more than other people? Am I asking that in a nice, appropriate way?
Yeah, no, anxiety is fairly typically high for individuals with neurodivergency. That kind of brings me back to the masking conversation that we were having earlier. At least for ADHDers, like in my experience. Hold on, please. At least in my experience, I mask because my anxiety gets so high on judgment and it gets so high on how people think that I'm reacting that, okay, I'm just going to mask instead. It makes it easier.
When you say high on judgment, what do you mean? That you're being judged by other people or you're judging yourself in the situation?
Both. Now, the best way that I can explain this is there's like 15 different voices in here at all times. They're not different people. They're all me. And they're all either me judging myself. Sorry, 1 second.
Good girl, Mocha. Is a good girl? Yes, you are.
All aboard the bipolar.
There's like 15. Oh, sorry.
Oh, no, go ahead. No, go ahead. 15 different voices that are you in your head.
Yeah, and then they all have different thoughts. And then it depends on what squirrel they're riding and how much pixie dust that squirrel has had. And that's what thought gets my attention. But as soon as I have taken something like Adderall, there's only one voice. Everything else quiets out. I don't have all of these other things going on in my head.
So
and I was no, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead, because you might answer my question. Go ahead.
Well, no, I was just going to say that explains, because I haven't gone into my psychiatrist since I had the ADHD testing. That would explain some of it, because the diagnosis I got was neurodivergent. Potentially I have ADHD. But there was a bunch of other things that were on the report, and that completely explains, because my brain just runs, and I haven't described it as 15 people, but that's a really good way to put it, because my brain is going in all these different directions, and it's hard, and I don't have a med, I don't have anything I can take, but to calm it down.
Yeah, and the Adderall was an accidental thing that I found. It was a street thing that I found when I was using, and I took it and everything quieted down. That's when I was like, am I really bipolar?
Right. right?
So like that was the first inclination.
So pup groomer, I'm so sorry. She says that it stems from childhood trauma.
Oh no.
And I'm sorry about that.
Sorry.
You know, it's so interesting to hear you guys talk about this because so your brain, like, if I'm understanding you correctly, like your brains are never quiet. Like
No.
you're never just sitting with yourself. Like
It's
there's
impossible.
always
It's impossible. I can never just sit with one me. I have 15 of them.
So then my
I have
question
a
is,
little better, but yeah, I don't always have 15, but yes, it's hard. Yeah.
so then do my meditations help you? Like,
I'm
do
able
I
to quiet
do them
down
right?
for a little bit. Yes, I'm able to quiet down for that span of time, and then it slowly just gets right back up to it
Okay.
all happening all over again. Like
'Cause I'm
not all
wondering,
happening, all the voices coming back, I should say.
it just made me think everybody is saying it. So I started thinking maybe I need to change the way that I do the meditations to be more beneficial to everyone else because I didn't realize this was what was going on because like in my head when I go into Walmart I tone everything out. Like I can't tell you what song is playing. I can't I mean I can. I don't hear like the buzzing of people's words. I just
Oh.
go on. If I'm standing in an aisle and I happen to catch the you know like a lyric of a song, then I'll be like, oh, they're playing music. But I really do just go through. I don't have these swirly thoughts everywhere. I don't get to a point where I can't like where it's hard. When I was misdiagnosed as bipolar and I was on all the medication, then I had squirrely stuff, but that was the medicine. That wasn't my mind.
Yeah.
I was
When
going to
you-
say it's not entirely what you're doing is bad because for
No.
my brain, I am capable of hyper focusing for at least a short period of time. And so I hyper focus on your talking. If you stopped talking, then my brain would potentially go somewhere else. But that
Okay.
there's the breathing and you're saying the breathing and of course it's not a very long time that you're the meditation.
Right.
But I can focus in the breathing and then we move to something else. And I'm aware of potentially something else or aware of the cat, but I'm still getting the benefit of the meditation because I'm hyper focused on that for the short duration that it's being done. And I get the benefits from the meditation because I get that short duration of some brain calm, actually, some brain and body calm.
And the Jason Stevenson, the stuff that you sent me right at the beginning when we started talking to each other, there's only sections of it I can actually do. And as soon as he starts slowing down his talking, my brain is onto whatever issue it was that was bugging me just before I started meditating.
Oh.
So there's only sections of that I'm actually able to do. And then back to like the grocery store, I'm not nearly as I guess you would say squirrely, in the wrong term. I don't know how else to say it, but as an individual with autism having the overload, but I can hear other people's conversations around me before I can hear the conversation of the person with me. I can hear. Sorry.
The way of saying it is your computer's melting. It's a
Thank you. Okay, there we go. There we go.
Say it again. Your computer's melting?
Yeah, your brain is your computer. Your computer is down. There is nothing else that can be put in it. And all it is, and this is what I've told my daughter over the years, is your wires are just crossed differently.
Yeah.
But you're having a computer meltdown. That's what it is. When your thing goes like this and your
thinking circle.
Yep.
Yeah, I can hear other people's conversations before I can hear the person with me. I hear the music before I hear the person with me. The squeaky wheel of the cart 5 aisles over. I hear the screaming child in the bathroom. I hear everything else than what's happening with me. So when I have Rowan with me, it's like I constantly need to make sure I have one of those Stasia voices constantly paying attention to him, because if it's not, like, it's always a fear of mine, even when I had Addison, that I'm going to lose track of my child because of all of the other things that are causing me a bit of an issue.
Okay,
The only
let's
thing
see.
I was going to say was when I get the chronic fatigue, which I still have from long COVID, which I didn't necessarily have before, it does
Mhm.
shut it down a little bit. So
Okay.
I'm so fatigued that my body can't, it does not mean my brain stops. It's just instead of 15 voices, maybe I have 5 or 7.
Okay.
There's still a whole bunch of, there's still, the brain will still go. And until I fall asleep, and that's why I used to take
Come on back up over
gummy
here.
bed, because I needed something to kind of help shut the voices off. Because the brain just would spin and I wouldn't have a problem falling asleep.
I
Oh,
got
wow.
this Christmas, and it's a headband that goes around your head
Mhm.
with a stereo thing, because I sleep on my side.
Oh, yeah. I've seen it.
Listen to something else, and I have to have somebody talking, or I'm going to be up all night with just, I've got to do this, and I've got to do this, and I'll put in, just somebody talking, and it helps. Or I deal with fibromyalgia, so I have a lot of migraines, so I can put it over my eyes, say, block out the light. And
Yeah.
I do a lot of crocheting, and that's my sanity. It's where I can, kind of eliminate the pain and not think about it, because I'm focusing on something else beside
Okay.
day, and
Oh,
it's a bad day, or I'm dealing with anxiety or whatever it is. I'll pick up my crochet hook and just go down and watch, a series on TV that I've maybe seen 2 or 3 times.
Right.
I listen to brown noise, specifically it's rain on a tent. I found that one works, and I listen, that runs all night long on my
now
phone. And I
I
probably
do
sew for
sleep.
the same reason that you do, crochet.
I do sleep with like I listen to dark academia, which is like cellos and piano and stuff like that, only because I don't like it to be really quiet, not because I can't sleep. But I wanted to address a few things. So Kristen says the only time my brain gets quiet is when I'm doing things I shouldn't, or something really high adrenaline causing. Okay. Pup Groomer 20, I can tune out things going on around me. I have a hard time tuning out people that get too close to me, but I can't tune out my head. Okay, so that's kind of what we were talking about. Rolling Stone says there are a lot of coping skills for racing thoughts. Deep breathing is excellent. Moving very slowly to slow your brain helps too. Henning says, it's good, Christy. It forces me to focus on the breathing. It's good and necessary. Okay. Kristen says foreground versus background noise is hard to separate.
Yes.
And Pup Groomer says I crochet too. The repetitive counting helps.
Yeah.
I think this is what I will do. So when I'm creating, because that's how I process my emotions, right? So I will be listening to a book on tape. I will be doing whatever I'm doing, like, gluing my stuff in my junk journal or drawing or whatever I'm doing, and still kind of focusing on the dogs at the same time, kind of like doing all of that stuff. But I can only kind of do it when I'm creating. Other than that, I'm kind of like, like now, like you'll see me, I'm focused on you, and then I'm over here and I'm focused on this, and then I'm focused on that. So it's interesting that your brains work that way. Like it's very intriguing to me. I find it very interesting.
My husband will say I can be crocheting, listening to the TV, listening to a conversation that he's doing, and watching the dog. And he's like, "How do you do all that?" And I'm like, "I'm doing
Wow.
I thought everybody's brain worked this way.
Yep.
temple."
Imagine
temple
that you did it. I mean, um, let's see. I keep the TV on so I don't hear my mind nonstop. I will tell you, my husband is the same way, and it drives me nuts because I like quiet. Like I do not when I'm just here by myself, the TV's never on. If I listen to music, it's classical music or it's something that I'm playing. Like I really enjoy the quiet. I enjoy reading. You know, but when he's here, there's always something on. There's always something going, and I'm like, stop. You know. Let's see. Rolling Stone says, my head does that too, Henny. Have you heard it called negative self-talk? What's Henny talking about?
Ants. Tommy talks about it. Got
Um,
thoughts going on in your head where you're just sitting there. I'm thinking that's what she may be talking about.
well, but oh, okay, Henny answered. I just thought maybe I missed something up there. Okay.
Oh, and Stasha, were you going to say something earlier and we didn't? I just want to make sure you can.
Actually, no, Mary said it. I can be crocheting, I can be watching the dogs, I can be watching the kid and having a conversation, and then on the phone with Addison, and then no, I can do like 12 things at once. Yes, I'm not doing all of them maybe perfectly or well, but it's the only way my brain functions. Like sometimes writing out forms here, like trying to apply for things, I'll have music going and I'm singing to the music, like word for word, while writing out the forms.
My mother used to come in my room when I was a kid going, how can you be studying and absorbing anything while Elvis is playing? I don't know, Mom. I have the music going in order for it to get in ear. I don't know, but it works.
Yeah, the last form I was filling out, I was listening to rave music. So
oh gosh.
Well,
See, I would be a jittery mess. I would be like, okay, we got to turn that up.
well, I was going to say part of the brain fog, and this is one of the things the test taught me, was that I end up, my possibility to do a lot of things is above average. So your brain can do a lot. It's not like I'm not smart, but I didn't necessarily do well in school. So when I was a BC student, I was distracted and I wanted to read. But my brain, when the biggest thing with the brain fog is I can't process multiple things at once anymore. So I have a hard time focusing for work, and I'm struggling with work. And work, you know, it's fortunate I've got FMLA, I've got some protections for myself. I've been there a long time. So a certain portion of my brain can do this job in my sleep, which is why I'm not trying to elevate my career or do anything right now.
Right.
Yeah, it's because that's part of what COVID did is my brain does not process as quickly or as much as it used to. And when I say as used to, we're talking maybe now it's an eighth or a tenth of what it used to be able to do. So I used to be able to process and do like have 3 or 4 things going on, and I could do all of them well. And I can't do that right now.
Now, do you guys find it, because I know Cosmic has said it's hard for her to visualize. When I do visual meditations, is that easy for you guys or is that more difficult? Because I want to make sure that I'm doing meditations that are actually benefiting you. Because to be honest with you, I didn't think about, and I'm going to be real honest, I just make all that shit up as I go. I'm like, okay, where are we going today? Montana, Wyoming, we're in a beach. We're sitting in it. I mean, literally, like all of that stuff, I do not have anything written down, laid out, planned out. It's just like, okay, I just start.
Visualize. I don't know about everybody else though.
Make sure to tell me in the chat too. Like, can you all visualize? Do I need to do some different research, try some different things? Like
certain things I can visualize, other things I just can't. If I have a personal connection, not a personal connection, a personal memory of something similar to what you're describing, I can visualize it. But if I don't, it's just a black screen in my head.
My therapist, as I'm kind of going through and peeling back the onion a little bit, she's like, I need you to find a safe place. I'm like, okay. And I said, I picked Graceland. I know that sounds funny, but I've been through Graceland more times than I can count on my hand. And I can picture going through that house step by step by step by step and going through all the rooms and what it feels like and what it smells like and what the outside does. And, you know, and she's like, I need you to pick a place. So she can say Graceland and I know to go to that place while I'm trying to deal with all the other stuff.
I have the exact same thing for the trauma therapy. We had to come up with the safe place where you go. And the therapist walked me through, like, what does it have and what's there and what, all the different things. So when you're doing the visualization and we're talking about a safe place, I often in my head picture the little lake and the small house and my craft space and all the fabric and
Okay.
all of those things. I picture that. And it takes from Harry Potter. So that room that has, like, you remember the kind of at the very end, how the friend's house has that kind of like dome over it that protects it so nobody can get in.
So I have never really watched Harry Potter.
It's okay. There's a protection put over the place where
Okay.
Harry goes when he's hit 17, that nobody can get into that place who doesn't have the access. So my safe place has that, and I have the pensive that's in Harry Potter because I've seen the movie and I can visualize it. I have the pensive for the thoughts that I want to think about or I need to put away and not think about at that moment. And that's part of the trauma. That's part of the EMDR that I've done.
Okay. Okay. I wanted to say, Cosmic, I'm glad that you're here. I'm sorry that you're not feeling well, but I'm so glad that you're here. If you need to chat about anything, I don't know where the link is. I think it's further back in the chat, but if you want to drop it in the chat, you can
I don't go back to my therapist till next year, and I'm so thankful for having people through. I found you all through Tommy and having the lifeboat. My aunt was just diagnosed with stage 4 lung and liver cancer. And it's
sorry.
been hard.
Yes.
But then another family member, I'm going to be very tactful in how I say it, has not been very nice. And so it's made it much more difficult, where I've been blocked on Facebook and blocked by phone and been told I'm only connected because of this way, so have a nice life. I'm like, okay. So it's been hard because I can't resolve it on one end.
Yeah.
My mom, I'm going to have to call that person and talk and find out what they're planning to do. Are they planning to just say goodbye to us and walk away, or are they planning to come back and resolve it? But it's been nice to have people connecting and being able to have some place, because it's been like this has been.
Yeah. I'm happy that you're here with us. I'm
Yeah.
happy that we're able to help a little bit with connection. I know it's
Mhm.
especially hard in the beginning. It was for me anyways.
Well, just if your people at prayer, just be praying for her. They say
Yeah.
6 months without chemo, 2 years with.
Okay.
But
Is your mom?
no, it's not. It's my aunt that's been diagnosed.
Your aunt. Were you close to your aunt?
I'm close to her, and I'm helping her, trying to raise some funds because she's gonna she may have to quit work and so forth and so on. I'm helping her, but I can't help it if the other family member wants to treat me disrespectfully and not be nice. I can't.
Right, right. That has nothing to do with
I
you.
can't.
No.
But it hurts. She
How
has
are
no.
you? Go ahead.
I just
How are you
copied.
processing your aunt's diagnosis?
I woke up in panic attacks the past 2 weeks unexpectedly.
Okay. And is
Dead.
that
When you were a kid and you were knocked back, and you feel
Mhm.
like the wind knocks out of you, and it's like you're waking up trying to breathe, and you're like. And the 31st will be the day my grandfather passed away, and the 1st of January is when my dad passed away 2 years ago. So I'm like, well, that isn't helping either. So
Oh,
you're seeing
wow. Okay.
is never good for me, but it was like
Sure.
I've woken up in straight panic attacks going, Mary, you've just got to breathe. You're not going to pass out, but you feel like you're
Right.
struggling to breathe. It's
Sure.
scary. So
And what do you do in those? You breathe. Do you are they panic attacks just because of the situations and
I,
all of these dates are coming up?
I think I wouldn't think. I didn't think you could have panic attacks in your sleep. I have them during the day if I get in the car, but I didn't think you could have them in your sleep. At least in the car, you're aware of them. But when you're dead asleep and you wake up going, you know,
Yeah.
and thinking like the wind knocked out of you. It scares you half to death. So it's like, okay, well, if they're not going to stop, then I'm just going to crochet till I get tired enough to try to go back to sleep.
Do
And
you journal your panic attacks? Do you write down what they're about and how you're feeling and why?
I know Tommy says to journal, and I can crochet for hours. I can't write for hours. It hurts too bad. Um,
Sure, sure.
so I thought, well, I may end up setting like an email account for myself so I can just email it versus trying to write it out because I can type longer than I can email.
Right?
But you
You
know,
can even speak it into a voice recorder. The reason journaling is so good is because it gets the way that thoughts are when you acknowledge a thought, then you can send it on its way. Typically, when you don't acknowledge it, it's kind of when it's trying to find traction and it's trying to grab. And so sometimes even just saying it out loud can help you process it or help you hear how it sounds that way. I'm so sorry that you've woken up
yeah,
that way.
knowing
That's a lot.
she's a smoker, so she's not going to stop. And
Mhm.
I keep saying, God, Lord, let her be here for as long as you have. And if it's not going, the treatment's not going to help, then please take her home so she doesn't have to suffer. Um,
And I know that some people might look down on you for that, but that's a very compassionate and
no,
understanding way to be. I mean, I think.
no, I don't, it's not worth it. It's just not. I love her. I know where she's going. Give a hug to my
Yeah,
dad, but not be here if you're going to be in agony. It's just not.
right, right. And knowing having that reconciled in yourself that you know where she's going in her afterlife, I think irrespective of what you believe, I
Yeah.
think that is such a comforting thing for people who are dealing with the inevitable. Um and having that talk with somebody, just what do you believe is going to happen, so that you can at least have
Yeah.
some settling in yourself of, okay, you know what, I believe this. It's the same thing. you know um it's very it's a great gift that someone can give you, to do that.
I made friends with somebody on the lifeboat, and they're in Australia, and I was having one of those times recently, and she just happened to message me about 3:30 in the morning. I'm like, I'm done trying to sleep right now, and we talked
Yeah.
for like an hour back and forth, and it was like then I was able to go to sleep because I talked to somebody and I got it out because I was
Yes.
just
Yes. Yeah.
this whole thing doesn't make sense.
Right. Right.
Family's supposed to come together, not rip apart when somebody's going through something like this.
You
So
know, uh, the first time I ever seen a family ripped apart was the most tragic thing I'd ever seen. And it was when my husband's stepdad was dying. And his mom was screaming at his stepdad. His brother was stealing from everybody. His sister was in active addiction. I had never experienced anything like that. I didn't know how to get through that. It was very traumatic and it was very difficult. And I've seen, I think, probably more times than not, that unfortunately family does kind of do this. And I think what's important in my mind, how I see things, is that at the end of the road, you can stand and you can say, I did everything I could do. I was as honest as I could be. I treated everybody as fairly as I could. I respected the wishes of the person that is sick. And you know what? Um, when it came time and they needed permission to go, I was able to give it. And I feel really good about where they are. And
she
it, go ahead.
she texts me right now, and I'm like, I'm just thankful she's able to still be here to text. And I'm
Yeah,
like, no, I'm going to be here for her, and I love her, and
yeah,
I'm here to help take care. She
yeah,
does. my state, but I'm here to help where I can.
Yeah, and that is such a it's such an important thing, and um everything has a learning opportunity, and you will learn something from this. You will come away with a really good lesson, and um that's why I really encourage people when they're going through really difficult times is to journal, not just because it helps you to process those emotions when you don't know how, but when you go back and you read it. I remember when my dad died. He fought cancer for 3.5 years, and he died at home. And my brother and I were the ones that were there. Everybody left, and it was just me and my brother. And um, I remember what an amazing gift it was that he gave us to allow us to see what it looked like to do that with dignity and grace. We got to see all of our friends and the sides of them we would not typically see, the kind, generous, not that our friends were like horrible people, but they were just these big cowboy guys. And the lessons that I learned from that have changed me to my core. And in the moments, it was really hard to see those lessons because you're so in it and you're going through it and you're just doing everything you have to do to get through it. And it wasn't until I was on the other end of it that I was really able to look back and see, this is what I learned. And so that's why talking to somebody, writing it down, typing it, saying it into a voice recorder, because when you get on the other side of it, that's when those moments are going to be important. And you're going to go back to a moment and you'll be like, I remember that, or I learned this, you know?
I know I'm learning extending grace tremendously right now.
You learn a lot of grace in those
Learn
situations.
grace.
Yeah. You learn a lot of grace, you learn a lot of wisdom, you learn a lot of compassion, and you learn a lot of boundaries too. I learned that we had to learn boundaries. um but I'm so sorry. Has she decided if she is going to take the chemo or not?
She's gonna start chemo. So
And when does she start?
starts in January. And they tell her she's not going to lose her hair. So she's a hairdresser. And throughout this whole thing, that has been her one panic is I'm going to lose my hair. But they tell her she's not. So I'm just praying she doesn't.
What makes them tell her she's not?
Oh, I'm not telling her anything. I'm not telling her anything. I am going to crochet her a couple of hats and send it just in case. But I just keep praying. I hope that doesn't happen because I don't know if she'll be able to.
Right.
Whether she'll be able to work with it or do anything, I don't know. It's just kind of like I take one step at a time. Let's do this. Now let's do this and be patient and and if the other person chooses to not have a relationship with me again, there's nothing I can do about it. Love you.
No.
And then choose not to, then that's fine. I can't do anything about it. Haven't done anything of it, but I can't do anything about it.
And you have a very good outlook on it. And the other thing I know to be true also is when you head into a situation and you have positive outlook from the start, it really does help a lot. You just frame it differently from the beginning.
Oh, it's taken a couple weeks. It's just taken a couple weeks and talking it through, going, there's nothing that I can do. It's out of my control.
And it is. I mean, you would be a miracle woman if you just were like, oh, well.
No, it hurts.
Grace be to you.
But I can't do it. There's nothing I can do about it.
Yeah. And, those are, so sorry. Those are difficult situations to be in. But I mean, it sounds like you have a good head on your shoulder about it. And I think your therapist will be very proud of you when you go back, like, hey, I maintained connection. I
Tell me do a thought record, and I'm like, how can you do a thought record on this one? I mean, that's great advice, and in some instances, thought worker works, but there's no thought behind this one because none of it makes any sense. Not the other part, but just the other one. None of it makes sense. And I'm like, okay, I don't know how I'm supposed to do a thought record on this one because it baffles my mother's mind and my it's not. It's like they're going, that makes sense. Our
as
family
to
has
why
a history of hurting people in order to make ourselves feel better. And I have spent many years to not do that. My dad did that. My grandmother did that. Family members have done that. And it is such a bad habit to get into, but our family has a history of saying, let me hurt you, then I feel better for a while.
Mhm.
And it's not a good thing ever.
I think just the fact that you're so aware about all of that, and maybe your thought record could be, this is my realization, you know,
It's a good way of
this is
looking.
what I've seen, because, and I think what you said makes a lot of sense. How am I supposed to rationalize something that no one's explaining to me, that I can't understand, I can't get answers for? So the only thing that I can think about this is, hurt people want to hurt people, which is a saying. We've heard that before, right? And I'm just choosing to put this boundary in place and not allow it. And I think that's a very good thought record. I mean, you've already thought it through. And
Yeah.
I'm sure your conversation with your newfound friend in Australia probably was really helpful with you realizing that.
My mom is just in the next room, so we go in there and talk, and it's like, we'll talk through it. It's just as hard for her as it is for me, because what
Right.
she realizes that she may end up losing a relationship with that person too, because she's like, I can't have a relationship if they're not going to have a relationship with you. So it's a ripple effect, and I don't think we realize really in life how much we do that. It's like it starts here and it just ripples and keeps growing, and sometimes there's no way back.
Right.
There's just
Right.
like, so.
Absolutely. Well, and I mean, there's a man drew by, um, and when you can see it from that way, because that's a very healthy place to see it from, right? A very unhealthy place would be to be angry and blame and rage and that kind of thing. I mean, it's just a very healthy place to come from, I mean, that's amazing, really.
I'm sorry she has to go through it. I really wish
Your
she didn't go through it,
your
but
mom or your
my
aunt or both?
have to go through it.
Mhm.
And she's by herself, and I just wish she didn't. She's not by herself, but she's got a lot of support. I just wish she didn't have to go through it.
Right. Right. Have you written, have you ever just typed up, or I mean, I'm going to say written, but of course know that that could mean any form. It could be talking. Have you ever just written her a letter and put all of your feelings out about
I'm
how, I mean, you don't have to send it, but have you ever just expressed it all?
I'm planning to do that and send it in the mail and say, this person, if you've decided to just cut and you've been able to express your feelings, and like Tommy on the lifeboat said, you are owed something. You have to have a place to put yours.
Mm-hmm.
You're entitled to that. You're not going to be able to move forward. And I said to my mom, I'm going to do it, and you should do it too. And then if that person comes back, that's fine. If they choose not to, then at least I've been able to say, thank you for being in my life while you were. have a wonderful life, and I love you, and
Mhm.
move forward. It's the
Would
only.
it cause more problems to actually mail the letter?
I don't think so. I really
Okay.
don't, because I
Okay.
think that person needs to realize is the problem is it, have you said I'm going to come back and have a relationship, or have you chosen not to? And I need to know one way or the other. You're leaving me in limbo.
Hmm.
So can we decide whether I need to grieve over you too? And then I'll grieve and move on? Because my mother said, you know, when I leave this world, if I left tomorrow,
Hmm.
I wouldn't want the person calling to find out whether I had gone or not.
Hmm.
That's a pretty heavy thing to say.
Hmm. Yeah.
So it's like, I don't think so. And it's the only way I can see a way of being able to say,
Mhm.
do me the graciousness of knowing me, whether this is you're coming back or we're just done. And then if we're done, I
Now,
love you. Have a wonderful life.
are you prepared if this person does not give you an answer?
I'm prepared either way. But at least I'll feel like if I mail it and I don't get a response, I'll know my response.
Right. Right. Okay.
And then I haven't even told my daughter, who's an adult now, and who, with the autistic brain, they don't think the way we do. They
Sure.
take things in a very different perspective
Hmm.
and a different way of doing it. So something like this, her gut reaction is, well, and I'm like, stop. She doesn't look at the other,
Hmm.
it's like, you know, this little pinhole thing instead of looking at all of the things around. And so I want to make sure that if that's the case, I can frame it to her in a way that doesn't harden her heart either.
Okay.
Because you can't, the perspective coming, whether, no matter what age of the person with autism, they look at things from their world is just totally different perspective than you and I.
Right.
So I
Mhm.
can look at it with different things going, in a way my daughter just can't see it.
Right.
I'm like, I'm not telling her this right now.
Right. Well, and you don't know which way it's going to go.
No, I know.
And understanding your daughter the way that you do, it sounds like it's a wise thing, you
So
know? Wait.
people with autism don't handle emotions well. That's why I was saying before, when their computer is crashing,
Mm.
they emotionally can't help. They can't handle it. They're just overstimulated and overwhelmed. So oftentimes it'll come out of their, mouth, and they'll they'll start hitting something or hitting somebody because they're off. They're just, they can't do anything else
Right.
until they get back. And so it's
That's a lot on your plate to have to process and go through and then have everything that you're going through on top of it. Um, how far away from your aunt are you? I know you said you were in another state. Are you
we're
close?
so away. Thank God for FaceTime and all that kind of stuff now. I'm thankful for it. She was here for my daughter's wedding, so we got to see her a year ago, and so I'm thankful that she was here. She did my daughter's hair, and so that's a really special, memory that I have with her. And as crazy as and busy as the wedding time was, it was really special, and I'm glad we flew her up here for that. And,
That's wonderful. That's
no,
really wonderful. I'm glad you have that too. Uh, oh,
Is there anything else we can do to help you? Because
I
we're
don't
here.
I don't know if it is, other than just praying for her,
Nope,
mhm.
absolutely.
Yeah.
because you have to think positive, and I'm trying not to think negative.
Hmm.
But I also have done some research on stage 4 lung and liver cancer, and the odds are not very good.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I think it helps to be realistic too. That
yes.
way that, that's where that wise mind comes in. You can't be too rational, you can't be too emotional. I think you need to be realistic and balanced. And there hope is an amazing thing, and
And she knows, I said to my aunt, you can call me. I don't care what time of day it is. If you
Mhm.
need to talk, I don't care if you wake me up at a dead sleep. I'll talk to you for an hour.
Right. Yeah.
No, I don't care. It's not me. I'm here for her in
Right.
whatever capacity. Like, I called the Council of Aging yesterday to find out resources. And so, maybe that's all I could do. And there's a thing that if people are struggling with, they have a disability or if they are need a meal, there's something called lasagna love
Mhm.
that people can apply to. And Christmas Eve, they showed up at my aunt's house. They called her with a lasagna, and they're going to
Oh,
bring the lasagna every month. And you can apply for that to ask to have a lasagna delivered to you. It's called Lasagna Love. And she
oh, I
said, yeah,
love that.
Christmas Eve.
Yeah.
So if you're disabled or something like that and need help with meals, they'll bring out a lasagna. There I haven't been able to get it yet because it's not in my area yet. But
Uh-huh.
they'll come with a lasagna and bring it to you if you're, disabled or if money's tight and what have you. It's called Lasagna Love.
That is amazing. I
Yeah.
I love that there is something like that out there.
Yeah.
That's
So they
really great.
for Christmas Eve with the lasagna. And she couldn't even do the paperwork or the online application for that. So I did it for her because just going on and clicking through stuff was just too much for her. So I just went on and did that for her. And she goes, yeah, they showed up Christmas Eve with the lasagna. So I tried to tell you.
Awesome. That's awesome.
Nice.
Can I ask what area of the country you and your aunt are?
Well, I'm in Ohio. And actually not far near Amish country, and she's from Florida.
Okay.
So, and it wouldn't make sense for all of us to, my mom's like, I can't fly down there and then leave you and my husband and my daughter, who's all blood related, and go see her. It would be cheaper to fly her up here, possibly,
Mhm.
if she's able to travel or be there by FaceTime and so forth. It just wouldn't make sense to go down there. She's got a good support system and people, plus the cancer society is getting involved, and
Okay.
I don't think it's totally hit me yet either, but we'll just
Probably
see.
not.
I,
How long have you known?
like 2 weeks. Well, we knew 2 weeks ago something was wrong, and they found out a week ago, and they thought it was just liver cancer, and then everything was encapsulated until they found out that it had spread, and it was stage 4 lung and liver.
Mhm.
So that's just, you know.
Well, when it does hit you, allow yourself to feel all of those emotions, anger, sadness, all of that. I know with me when I am a very yay, Carol's back. When I found out that my dad had cancer, I had one day for like 20 minutes where I just went through everything, and then I was like, okay, what do we do? How do we move forward? And then from that point on, I was in my I would say I was in a wise mind, but I was closer to the reasonable part of it. I kind of just dropped my emotions at the door and was like, this is what I need to do to handle it.
Well, my dad was diagnosed with dementia. I cried for a while when he would do something that, well, he forgot my name today. Oh, well, he can't do this anymore. Oh, well, he can't do this anymore. Okay, well, and then you just stop crying. I didn't realize when he died 2 years on January 1st, 2021, when he passed away, that I was going to grieve over the man 7 years prior to the dementia. I wasn't grieving over the man that had dementia because that was horrible. But I was grieving the man that still remembered who I was and still could walk and still could talk and do all the things. I was grieving that man. I wasn't grieving the man that I had to take care of for 7 years. And that was
This
unexpected.
is very important. I gotta go. I will be back if I can.
Okay.
I'm so sorry. I'll see you guys later.
You can keep going.
So, I didn't expect that. I was like, okay, my dad's, passed away. He's in a better place. He's not hurting anymore. He can walk. He can do all the things. But I wasn't expecting to go back to grieving the man that I had known prior to the dementia. That threw me for a loop. It still does.
Yeah. When my mom was diagnosed with Lewy body dementia, but I had her retested because she was still pretty sharp, but the dynamic had changed just over time. And I took care of her for about 10 years, off and on during those times. She would live in an independent living place or something like that. But toward the end of her life, I realized I was having to grieve the mother-daughter relationship because it was non-existent. That didn't exist anymore. It was caregiver, person getting the care.
It's a horrible disease to have to walk through.
Yeah. And thank goodness, I mean, she you could see it in her short-term memory. But not her long-term memory remained intact. I don't know what form of dementia she really had, and I don't know if they really know.
My dad, Lewy body with Parkinson's affect.
Okay.
So he got his hands got like this, like he couldn't open them. He got really stiff and rigid, which was difficult and painful.
Yeah. Ouch.
And we all had COVID at the end, and he had to go into an assisted living, or not, a respite care, because my mom winded up in the hospital with almost passing away. And they kept him, and they called us up on Tuesday, and they said he's not doing well and he probably won't last too much longer. I said, you don't know my dad, dementia or not, you don't know him. And I just said, just wait, Dad, till January the 1st. It was like a couple days away. And mom gets home from the hospital and everything's fine and everything's good. And he lasted till January the 1st at like 12:30 in the morning. And at 12 o'clock on January the 1st, I put Elvis Presley on Battle Hymn of the Republic. And I just said, okay, Daddy, it's time to go home. And like half an hour later, he gone.
Wow.
And it was like, and none of us could be there around him because we all had COVID. They wouldn't allow us around when he passed.
Wow.
They just called us up and said he's gone. And I was like, my mom, by then she'd just gotten home from the hospital, and I didn't have to, deal with all that. And, at least I had my mom there and everything. And so I don't do New Year's or New Year's Day very well.
Right.
My grandfather passed away at 11:50 New Year's Eve, and my dad at 12:30 New Year's Day. So those two days, just I say they both wanted to go out with a bang. That's the only way to look at it, with some kind of levity, but
Yeah.
something. But I don't know if you were here. I was saying to them that my aunt's been diagnosed with stage 4 liver and lung cancer.
I'm sorry.
That's
Oh my God.
Yep.
Are they going to try to do anything
They're gonna
or comfortable or?
they're gonna try to do chemo, but she still smokes. She won't stop, and she shouldn't. So I don't quite know how effective it will be if she doesn't stop smoking. But at this point, it may be more dangerous to stop than than to not. But I just keep telling her positive things and telling her I love her and trying to help her with a GoFundMe page and
Yeah.
trying to find resources. And there's a resource out there that's called Lasagna Love, and they will deliver a lasagna to people that are disabled or tight with money or food. And she called me up. She said she couldn't even do the paperwork to sign up for it. And she called me up. She goes, "They're delivering me a lasagna at Christmas Eve." And they brought her a lasagna, and they'll bring her one once a month so she doesn't have to worry about food.
Okay. Oh, so less for the whole month?
No, just every month they'll bring her a lasagna.
Oh,
If you
okay.
Helps
their
out.
website, it's called Lasagna Love.
Okay.
Request
Just one lasagna a month or?
yeah, one lasagna a month, and you can request a lasagna. And
Okay.
there's an organization that will bring people lasagna, that are struggling food wise or disabled or going through a
Did you get
difficult time.
Meals on Wheels or anything like that to supplement between or?
Got a caseworker, and she's got the Cancer Society that is starting to step up. So,
Okay.
but
She would qualify for Meals on Wheels, most
yeah,
likely.
yeah, she's still working. I don't know how she's going to continue working, but she's a tough cookie. She's a tough cookie, I'll tell you that. She's been through a lot in her life, but
She
man,
might, no, you never know. She might could beat it.
she's been through a lot. She's had problems on and off, but man, the past 12 years of her life, she's rocked it. She's just done amazing. I'm so proud of her.
Wow.
Just done amazing.
Wow.
We have an organization in Minnesota called Open Arms that does the same thing for cancer patients, but they did. This is, of course, over a year and a half ago. They did do people like me because I had COVID and couldn't. I needed healthy meals. I was having cans of soup because it was, easy to open and put in the microwave. And they brought me meals I got 3 months, which was awesome. And I hope they can find something so she can focus on getting healthy and doing what she needs to do. And maybe one less thing for her to worry about.
Yep. I'm just trying to be here. I said you can call me whenever. Call me. I don't care when you call me if you need to talk.
Yeah.
Give me a call. And says
Yeah.
the new make her lose her hair. She's a hairdresser, so she's not
Aw.
focusing on. So I thought I'll do some hats just in case, and that way I can send it to her and crochet some hats and stuff, and just love her. Even if
Is this your dad's sister?
yeah, my dad's sister.
Okay. Oh, I'm sorry.
The other family member that has chosen to possibly not talk to me again, I cannot do anything about that. I can just love them and say I'm here and willing to forgive you, and you choose to be out of my life, then you've chosen to be out of my life, and that I'm really sorry, and I'm thankful my dad isn't here to see it.
Oh.
Because
Oh, that hurts.
yep, it does. I thought about it, and I thought, if this is how different certain religions that call themselves religion do, I'm just like, man,
It's a religious thing.
I'm a strong believer in God and Baptist and all that kind of stuff, but they never say to me, if you can't talk to your other family members that are not this, but those religions that do, and we know which ones they are.
Yeah.
So you disconnect because they don't believe what we believe. I'm like, this is painful. Why would anybody want to do that?
Yeah.
If I'm in someplace and said, your daughter doesn't believe that, so you can't talk to her again, I'd be looking at them going, goodbye. Because you ain't going to get me to stop talking to my daughter. There's just no way.
That's right. If you I mean, if you go by the Bible, there's nowhere in the Bible where it says to do that.
No, it doesn't. Not
Right.
one bit. We
They're
go to a
just-
wonderful, wonderful
Studied
church.
extensively when I was in that.
A wonderful, wonderful church. I'm very grateful for all the people there that are just, just loving and gracious and welcoming. And
Yeah.
but
I'm so glad you have that.
Yeah, I am too.
you can't, I can't do anything about the one person other than just say, I'm here and I love you, and write you a letter and we'll go from there.
Can I ask what organization they're part of? You don't have to share if you don't want to. That's okay.
Not part of an organization.
Oh, okay.
They're not. I'm just saying I can understand in a way I didn't understand before what that would be like for the person on the outside. Not that they are, but I'm just saying I can't imagine, no wonder this hurts.
Mhm.
Yeah. It's I can't understand it. Block me by Facebook and block me by phone and then tell me, that for what, I have no idea what I've done enough to deserve that. But
But you do think it's over religion?
no, I think it's just over. I don't know.
Okay.
All of us are baffled.
Okay. Huh.
And I'm not trying
Has
to.
there been a change in their life recently, that like a new person that came in, or?
No, she's dealing with the news of my aunt, and I'm not going to go to who it is or how it's connected, but she's dealing with that. I know that's a lot. So our family has a history of hurting people that I hurt you so that I can feel better. My grandmother did that.
Ooh,
My dad did that, and it's just a pattern. And
wow.
it's
How does
really
it
not.
feel better? That's baffling.
Oh, my grandmother told me she just looked at me one time. She was in a bipolar episode. She just looked at me and told me to go to hell. I was like, okay, grandma, you coming with me? And then she was a different person. I mean, it's just, that's what our family pattern has somewhat done. And it's not healthy in any way, shape, or form. So when I get angry, I get quiet because I'm not going to do that. I did that in my 20s. And it didn't solve a problem. So when I'm hurting, I get quiet. I don't want to hurt you. I want to calm myself down and then come back reasonable.
Right on.
There's no sense to hurt you for anything.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, the family pattern is there.
That sucks.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
You got a lot on your plate. And that's tough.
I don't know what's worse. Like I have I'm the last of my kind. All that's left is cousins that I never really knew all that much. They're so much older than me. My parents had me a lot later in life. I was closer in age to the great grandkids, but I was still a little bit older than them. But my parents, my one and only sibling, my aunts and uncles, all gone.
I have a tiny, tiny family. So what little family I have left, my husband's family is huge, but my side of the family is very tiny. So what I have left is important to me.
Yeah.
People that 50 years of my life, goodness gracious, are important to me. I don't
Yeah.
care what your political views are or your religious views are. You're important because of who you are, not
Yeah.
because of anything like that. They're
Yeah.
important to me. Family
Yeah.
means a heck of a lot to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe it's the Greek in me. I don't know.
Nice.
My mother's father was Greek.
Okay.
And so Greeks are very much like that. Family is important. They have people over. Like when we had Christmas, my
Yeah.
daughter had friends with them. I said, they're welcome at our table. Mom, you sure? Yes. And they came and we had a blast. I don't know if anybody's ever played that game where you take a saran wrap and you put a bunch of things in it, toys and stuff, and you wrap it up in plastic. And you put a toy in or something or candy, and then you wrap a little plastic and you make this big ball of saran wrap.
Okay.
Put on mitts, the oven mitts that don't have the fingers, but the ones that just have the thumb and the other, and you put that on, and then you have dice. So you roll the dice and you put these oven mitts on, and you have to open this thing with the oven mitts on, and it gets fast as people are rolling doubles. So you may not even get the gloves on your hands before somebody else rolls a double. A blast. My daughter, son-in-law, and his friend and we were laughing so hard that we were doubled over. We had so much fun playing this game, and my daughter's like, this has to become an annual thing, and I'm like, that's what I want it to, so that one day when your kids are around, we could do this ball. And it was just, we had a blast. It was so much fun.
That sounds great.
And I needed that.
Yeah.
Bring them over. Table's there. Got enough food. We'll make it through.
Yep.
So family is, if you go to a Greek festival, you'll totally get it. Or watch My Big Fat Greek Wedding.
I watched them both. I love that movie. I love that movie.
Extreme. But it's very true about, the Greek thing. Everybody's welcome. You have a big party. There's food, and it's part of the Greek heritage. It's what I was raised with. My grandfather was Scottish, but my grandfather was Greek, and it was just like,
he don't eat no meat. He don't eat no meat. It's okay. I miss them.
Windex. That's not a Greek tradition.
That was just a him tradition.
Yeah. That game was so much fun. Oh my goodness.
That sounds fun. Well, I'm sorry that I missed. I was in the barn thinking, man, this is what it was like for the kids that had farm chores, grow up having farm chores and had to miss out on certain things. Like, I was a farm kid, but I wasn't one of those kind of farm kids.
Look, can you send some snow this way, please? I don't know what's going on, but we've had fog. Not snow, but fog. Like so thick you cannot see the hand in front of you. But snow, no, not any snow. I don't know what's going on, but it was like
it's not up here either.
It was like 60 degrees Christmas Day. I was like, this is so wrong. I didn't move to Ohio for it to be 60 degrees. Thank you very much.
Oh, you like the cold?
I like the fall and the winter. I'm not a spring and summer girl, and yet I was raised in Florida, but I'll never. But to be 60 on Christmas Day? Mm-mm.
Wow. I forget whether I don't guess it was too bad here, but it's been bad every day since, and it's going to keep being bad here.
Minnesota's warm. I'm in shorts, and I went out and hung outside for 5 to 10 minutes. Granted, I like it cold. I wonder what this morning was like. It's 34 degrees now, so we might freeze. Maybe, but it's been dreary up here.
Yeah.
Last year we had snow, and last year we had at one time where it actually got below 0 to something like -10 or something. It was that cold. I mean, I remember my mother opening the door, and you see those movies where the snow just kind of comes at you with the wind. I wish I had a video. She's opening the door. The dog hasn't been out yet, and the door opens, and the wind's just knocking you with the snow coming in, and the dog's going, "See ya." That video of that was so funny.
Wants to know where you're from in Florida, Mary.
I lived in Coral Springs. No, Margate and Coconut Creek, which is about an hour from Fort Lauderdale.
Okay. It's been a few years since I've been to Florida.
And I don't miss it at all. I don't miss the traffic and the snowbirds and the hurricanes. And I've been through Andrew. I went through Wilma. I went through Irma. I don't miss any of them.
I've heard that it's gotten more expensive there.
Traffic was bad when we left. You could tell when the snowbirds came. I mean, everybody stayed in their house because the traffic became unbelievable when the snowbirds would come.
Dang.
Yep.
Well, I didn't think that was still a thing because people were saying that it's gotten more expensive, but I guess it still is.
The school where the Parkland thing happened with that young man
Yeah.
many odd years ago, that school was Stoneman Douglas. When Irma hit, there is the elementary school that is right next to that school. And we stayed in there during Irma because Irma was a Cat 5 coming and we were not going to stick around for a Cat 5.
Right.
And then my grandmother's like, well, I went through the war without it. And I'm like, well, you didn't have a Cat 5 coming to you because if it is, there's not going to be a house left.
Yeah.
And I'm not sticking around for that to find out, to look up and go, oh, there's the sky. No.
So Pup Grimmer says, are you kidding? I'm from Mulberry, Plant City, Southside, Lakeland area.
Yep. That's further north, I think Lakeland is.
I'm trying to bring this right on the county line road on the county line of Polk and Hillsborough counties. And Ben says, yeah, all the ones that can't drive come here. So you here meaning you're in Florida too?
It's crowded.
Huh.
Yeah, I'll skip the heat. And I don't mind the snow. I mean, I live in the city. Oh, no, Arizona, says Ben. But yeah, granted, I live in the city. You know what? What's the max? 2 days, maybe 3 that were snowed in. Yeah. Oh, south of Tommyland. Okay.
Right. I do that, Ben.
So,
Well,
yeah.
in my car and go down and be down in the Amish country in about an hour.
Okay.
So we get to go down there. How many, like I said to a friend today, I said, how many times can you go to Dollar Tree down there and see a horse and buggy? Because they'll be sitting right outside the Dollar Tree down there. And, down in the Amish country, and the food is just some of the places that we get to go because of the Amish country. The food is just unbelievable.
Right on.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Wow.
Yeah. I suppose I should be going soon. I need to get some dinner.
Yeah.
It's getting close to 7 here.
Okay. Yeah. Same here. You're Central Time?
I'm Central Time. Yep.
Okay.
It's-
I don't know why I didn't know that. Anyway, Minnesota is kind of the middle part of the state of the United States. I just realized that. I always think of it as being east for some reason.
It's 7:40.
It's what?
7:45 here.
So are you on the east side of Iowa?
East side or Eastern Standard Time.
Okay.
So, but I will be glad to come on if there's anybody with questions about autism or dealing with fibromyalgia, which I deal with on a daily basis since 2012.
Or you can just come on to talk with us because it was great seeing you.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll go back and watch what I missed, so I'll get to know you.
Well, there has to be a place to talk in the sense that I think that's what we're missing in our world is that, there's got to be a place to come to and say, listen, I'm going through a really hard time.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
just having somebody listen or somebody just give you advice and say, this is, how we can help, or just being there. Because the world in itself is hard. And,
It is.
connections are a battle plan. It's a pretty dang on good battle plan as far as I'm concerned.
Yep.
I mean, with it being as tough as it is, and people tending to isolate by putting up these defenses and all these things, it's tricky right now, and it shouldn't be. It's not that hard. It's not that hard, So
And
maybe,
you provided. No, go ahead. Go ahead.
well, I was just going to say, maybe somebody will kind of remember how to do this, and there'll be more of this,
I was going to say
Yeah.
thank you for providing a spot where we can do this.
Right on. Well, thank you for being here.
I
'cause
never thought I would be like on something on YouTube where people could see my face. I thought I would do that.
Well, I wrote to Tommy. I said, I'll be glad to come on, because I'd be glad. He's got a lot of people on the lifeboat that deal with fibromyalgia, and I'm no expert,
Right.
but I've had it since 2012. I know what it's like to go through it. I know the battle plan I have to put in place so that I'm not, overusing my medicine because I'm hurting.
Okay.
If I wake up and I cannot have a medication at that point, I'm pulling out my crochet hook. I don't care what time of day it is.
Okay.
So if you don't have a battle plan in place, whatever that is, whether it's a coloring book, a crochet hook, a craft, whatever it is, you can focus on that. It makes a difference.
Okay. Right on.
It makes a total difference in how you're dealing with your pain.
Right on.
And I've dealt with addicts in my family, so I know what it's like to have been on that other side.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Well, I'm glad you're not, I'm glad you're mindful of not giving into, because that's tricky when you need it and you got to take it and it's there. It's good that you're mindful.
I have a phone, one of those app in my thing, so I hit pill reminder, so
Yeah.
I know exactly when I've had my last medication, and it's the only medication that works. But I think, okay, well, I've had it 2 hours ago. Well, you can't have it again.
Yeah.
And if I didn't put it in that phone, it would be really easy, or some way of writing it down. When did I have my last pill? My husband will go, well, when did you have your last one? 10 hours ago? You're hurting. Take a pill. You need to have some relief, because it is very discouraging when I'm going to go to bed hurting and I'm going to wake up hurting and I'm going to hurt throughout the day. And I'm doing that for the rest of my life.
They're not coming up with any breakthroughs for fibromyalgia yet.
Nope. Just deal with it. There's 3 medications the doctor told my husband, because he has it: Lyrica and Cymbalta and Gabapentin. Can't take any more.
Oh. Mm. Can he or can either one of you?
He can't take those either.
Okay.
So, he deals with it, but, he can't do it. But, he's got a higher pain tolerance than I do, but still, it's still something to say, guess what? You're going to be in pain for the rest of your life. Now, how do you deal with it?
Mm.
And you better figure out a battle plan on how to deal with it, whether it's journaling, whether it's a craft, whether it's getting involved with animal shelters that will allow you to bring dogs home that don't have medical needs, but that need a break from the shelter. They'll provide the food, they'll provide the medical care, and you get to provide a home for that dog or that cat.
Okay.
And then your focus is not on, I'm hurting.
Okay. Okay. Wow.
Amusement park all day long and you're sore. That's my life every day.
Mm. I wish that there was something that we could do, You know, because there's a point at which pain is counterproductive. You know, pain's there to signal us that something's wrong, but then, okay, now we know something's wrong. We don't need this pain to keep talking to us. I wish there was some kind of procedure they could do, you know, to whatever that communication is, to block it or something. And it wasn't medically induced, that it was surgically induced or something, or a device or something.
A crochet hook and a TV show will do it for me for hours.
Right on.
I'm glad you found that.
And what makes it really difficult is the person that is not being very pleasant is the one that turned it on to me. And I said, I'm not giving that power back to that person. I enjoy it too much. But that's been really hard. It's been like, you're going to pick it up, even though that connection is there with that other person. That makes it hard. But I'm just going to say thank you. I've been doing it for 6 years and I've grown, you know, a lot in my knowledge and my expertise on it and that kind of thing.
So Ben is asking, Mary, wondered if your doc has tested you for iodine deficiency.
No.
Okay. Might be something to look into.
They did say at one point I was low in iron and they tried to give me iron medication that didn't work.
Iron can be tricky. Yeah.
Yeah.
All green veggies have.
All green veggies have iron.
Yep. So I try to make sure that I have iron enough, but
Yeah.
yeah. You got to find something that when you wake up and you're hurting or you're having a rough day, what can you do to distract your mind?
Mm-hmm.
And there's enough stuff out there that you can find to do.
Yeah. What kind of stuff do you make?
Blankets. I just got done doing a beautiful blanket for my husband for his birthday of the St. Augustine Lighthouse.
Oh, wow.
Has she ever crochet
Awesome.
bomb?
My husband wants to know, my husband Steve wants to know if you've ever heard of crochet bombing. I have no idea what that is.
Oh, I'll have to look at.
Get together and like crochet like 20 feet of a fence or something crazy like that.
No, I've never heard of that.
Look it up. There's some.
Is that what they do when they put sweaters on trees? Is that crochet bombing?
Maybe so. All kinds of crazy stuff.
I
But it's
just-
I better run and go get some food.
Okay, yeah.
I'll see you guys. It's great meeting you, Mary, and I hope you come back and join us again.
It
Thank
was
you.
great.
Good night, everyone. Love, hugs.
Love you, Rebecca. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
I did an amazing grace blanket for our musical pastor that just left our church. I'm doing a baby blanket for my niece or nephew that's being born. Bag a Day is accepting donation blankets for a charity that she does for animal charity, and I did one for her channel to do as she's doing an auction in April. There's
Okay.
never not a project that I don't. I'm always doing something.
Right on.
Yarn is my daughter's like, she gave me a $10 gift card for Hobby Lobby. She goes, I know exactly what to send.
So I'll have to look up crochet bombing. He says it's something to do with making a fence or something. Is that right?
Well, they do all kinds. I can't explain it any better than that.
Okay.
Like whole doorways,
Oh,
a whole side of a place, like a crazy amount of crochet.
okay.
It's usually a group of people.
There's this little bitty town called West Fork, and they have it's not so much a gallery as it's just a place for all kinds of art. And it's like a community center. And they had a display one time where like the walls were crochet and everything in it like was crochet. It was pretty cool.
Imagine if there was a crochet flash mob.
He said, imagine if there was a crochet flash mob.
Well, and two, it's another way I do, because I'll do, commission work. And we're trying to get eventually a diabetic service dog for my husband. So I'll do some things to help that. But there's one, I don't know if you can see it real well, but this is one I'm doing
Ooh, I like it.
for my nephew.
Beautiful.
My sister-in-law and my brother are in the police force, so I try and kind of mimic that
Wow.
stripe.
Yeah.
So
It's amazing. It's so
yeah.
beautiful. I love the pattern of the crochet.
I'm always doing something. It goes every place. I have a bag, I've got my tools, and it goes.
So Ben says that could be handy when he becomes a supervillain.
But I just tell people that, you can go onto YouTube and get Dollar Tree crafts, and you can go to Dollar Tree and get crafts, and there's diamond art, there's cross stitch, you go walk into any kind of craft store. It doesn't have to be expensive, but
Yeah,
if you're in pain or you're dealing with a chronic illness or pain, find something you can do that keeps your hands busy, that takes the mind off the fact that I'm hurting and I can focus on something else.
right.
I'm watching Benson right now and I'm crocheting. I've seen Benson, I don't know how many times. I'm watching the,
Benson.
Love that show.
or chips or something. And I'm focusing on that. And then I'm realizing, oh, I haven't realized I've hurt for the past 3 hours.
Go in Deep Space Nine.
Was there somebody are you familiar with Star Trek at all? Any
Not,
of the Star Trek
no.
shows? I'm pretty sure that the one of the guys in Benson was Odo in Deep Space Nine, which is a Star Trek series.
Yeah, I'm not too much into Star Trek, but
I liked that show too, Ben.
you
A
know,
lot of
get
Star Trek snobs don't, but they're just snobs.
get find off what is hurting and put it on something you can focus on,
Yeah,
because there's no sense sitting here saying I'm hurting. You might as well focus on something else. So I did tell Tommy with Lifeboat that I'd be more than willing to come on his channel and talk about it if it helps somebody.
right on.
So
Yeah. Well, I want to go back and watch what I missed. Like I was feeling like one of those kids that it's like, oh man, I'm missing.
you'll probably see the dog. You'll probably see Mocha on there because I put her on there. She's a terrier. She's a trip. Because we were about service dogs, and I was trying to tell them why Mocha would not make a good service dog. She's climbing all over me, and no, this dog would not.
My dog's older now. She doesn't climb anymore. I've got two senior dogs. Well, she's not senior. She's just older now and slowing down. I have an actual senior dog. She's a Pyrenees, and she was my brother's dog. And we got her to adopt us, which is what you have to do with a Pyrenees. When he abandoned her, and they're not supposed to live. Their average lifespan is 12 and 13 years of age. She's minimum of 16, but probably older.
Well, Mocha was, we were fostering dogs at the time, and she was held by the collar and choked by neighborhood kids that thought it was funny. And then she was sent to a home where she was beaten every time she did something wrong. So we got her at, and we were working with a rescue, and we brought her in, and my daughter fell in love with her. And there's just, Mom, I want her. And so that was it.
Right on.
So we're taking care of her right now because she can't have her where she is, but
Okay.
she'll get you laughing. You got to watch her all the time. She's got these ears. I mean, them ears just pop up, and it's like, and the staffies will do this. They'll tilt their head at you like this. Oh my! And you can't help but fall in love with them. They're a very, very human-like breed. I will tell you that. They just get right here. That's hard.
Yeah, that's great. Well, I too am getting hungry, and I think I'm going to have a meal. It was good meeting you. And like I said, I'm going to go back and watch what I missed so I'll get to know you a little
Oh,
better. And
thank you.
thank you for coming on. Appreciate it.
Autism, I thought I know a little bit enough to be knowledgeable enough that if it helps somebody, then that was
Yeah,
good.
I'm not doing it immediately, but I've got it in my kind of long-term goal situation to test to see if, because I'm pretty sure I've always been some kind of neurodivergent. I tested quite a few years ago, and it's before they knew how to test women, especially older women, because there's a different criteria of testing that they do now.
Well, Temple Grandin, I was going to tell the other lady, and I didn't know, but she had to leave real quick. I couldn't remember who it was. There's a book Temple Grandin talks, and it's the one. It's a newer book that talks about how different people think, and it would probably be very good for her to read about
Okay.
all kind of things.
Steve says he loves Temple Grandin.
And it talks about all the different the visual thinker and the other, all the ways different thinkers think.
Okay.
And it's pretty interesting. I haven't gotten to read it yet, but one of these days.
Do you have a copy of it yet?
I don't have a copy, but I want to do it audibly because I do a lot of things better audibly than I do.
Yeah, while you're sitting there crocheting and yeah, makes sense.
It was lovely to come on. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Have a great night.
You too.
Bye.
Night. Bye. All right, y'all. This was quite a meeting. And I'm sorry I missed part of it, but my animals, yeah, when it's cold like this, I really got to be on it. Get them situated and squared away with extra hay, enough hay to get through the night. And whew, I look like I've been in the barn, y'all. But anyway, thank you for being here, and good to see everybody, and talk to you soon. Hope to see you soon. See you tomorrow in tomorrow's meeting. And until then, peace, y'all.